We some sexy motherfuckers, they some sexy motherfuckers. We some sexy motherfuckers, they some sexy motherfuckers. They some sexy motherfuckers, they some sexy motherfuckers. We some sexy motherfuckers, they the gentlemen with cocktails, yeah!
That was fantastic.
Aloha, everyone. We are live and inspired today. I am one of your co-hosts, Gregory Cobra, also known as Handsome Cobra.
You all right, Schwartz?
Yeah, you okay, everybody?
I'm dying. I'm Chris Schwartzlander, OG nerd, and creator of and author of Tripping Over Reality. And we have a special guest today. Why don't you introduce him,
Okay.
Gregory?
Yeah, well, thank you. You're too kind, sir. You are the wind beneath my wings. So we have with us a special guest. He is author and writer of such books as Penny Cavalier, 100,000 Years in Detention, The Broken Paragon, collections of essays about video games. He also has his own series of books called The Fog World, and it's the first book is already out. It's called Wandering City Blues, and he has a new and up-and-coming one called City Limits. I am talking about the one and only Jonny Lupsha. Johnny, how's it going, brother?
How you guys doing? It's good to be here. I don't have a title like you guys, so I'm just gonna stick with my nickname that never took off, which is Steak Sauce.
Greg, he's been trying to get us to call him Steak Sauce for years.
Really?
Yeah, it actually started in college.
Is it more like a Heinz or
You know, I
Just
mean,
like
whatever
Steak
you got. I like A1. You know, it's good. I it goes well on fries. It goes well on chicken tenders. It goes well on steak if you're not very
This is true.
in your steaks when you cook them. You know, whatever you
This
like.
is true. It's
like,
delicious on fries.
Tater tots.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, okay, like to me, like a good steak shouldn't even need sauce or even A1. It should just need a little salt, little pepper. That's all you need for a good steak, man.
I agree. If you you get some if you get like a really coarse salt grinder and then like a fine pepper grinder, you do salt, you do pepper. You know, you got to leave them out for like 45 minutes, maybe an hour to get to room temperature. And then you do the salt and the pepper. Then you flip them, do the salt and the pepper. You get that pan burning hot. Do 5 minutes aside, let them rest for 5 minutes. You're good.
Look at that, Johnny.
So
the culinary skills.
You go medium. I go medium rare. I love medium rare.
Yeah, I go medium.
It's got to have a little. Got to have blood.
If you do a little bit of a tiny bit of vegetable oil in the bottom of the pan to help it keep from sticking, and you wait till that pan is like almost about to start smoking hot, then if you do the 4 or 5 minutes per side and then you let it rest. And my cheap way of letting a steak rest, and I love this because I think it makes me like a cross between Jackie Chan and Bob Vila, is that if you've got a microwave and the microwave has one of those trays in the middle of it that, it's just got like the metal grate.
Oh, yeah.
Where you can, it's for putting food up. You take the grate out, you stand it on a couple small things like a couple cans of soup or a couple, I have kids, so like a couple juice boxes, put it right on there. Then when it's time for the steaks to rest, set them right there for about another 4 or 5 minutes. And you got a perfect mid-rare, whether you're doing a prime rib or a New York strip or whatever.
Yep, you got to have a good 5 minute rest on there. Now, a good way to cook a prime rib, and I know we're going off topic, but we haven't really started to go on topic. Is to broil that son of a bitch for about a minute and a half, and you're gonna have a rare to medium rare prime rib. If you broil it real hot, and it is amazing. It melts all that fat all through it, and it's delicious.
That's good stuff. Like, fat is a much better ingredient than people want to give it credit for, because most people think, You have fat on something, the first thing you do is you trim it off and get rid of it. But if you've cooked it and if the fat's rendered, that's your seasoning right there, man. That's just that's
if
great.
you have a steak with good fat marbling in it, and you cook it just right, it'll melt throughout the meat, and it's delicious.
Yes, and you can if you're doing
I'm hungry.
Steak, if you're doing certain cuts of steak, it depends on which. And if you're doing pork chops, one of the things that I like to do is either the first side or the last side should be the edge that has the strip of fat on it. And you just take your, because I do it all in the pan. You take your tongs and you stand it up on edge in the pan for about 45 seconds or a minute. You let that fat render, and then you just, I mean, if it weren't so hot, you just pick it up with your bare hands and eat it. So good.
Oh yeah, man, dude.
That sounds amazing. Now I'm hungry, man.
Now
I want a big steak. Oh.
I love those ham steaks, man. I don't know why, but
I do too. I love ham.
Dude, like when I was out in Vegas, man, like you could go, I can't remember if it was called like the Gold Rush or Gold Mine or something like that, but you had like I think it was like Wednesdays, you could get like 99-cent ham steaks.
Nice.
Yeah, and they were just, I mean, they were fat, man. I mean, it filled up the whole fucking plate. Excuse me, but yeah, it was great, man. I love living out in Vegas, man. It was so good.
I always liked.
I love a big ham steak and smashed potatoes.
You guys know the the spice company? They have stores. Penzies.
No, I haven't heard of it.
No, Penzies.
I know some pansies.
Pansies allergies.
No, Penzies is a Penzey. Penzies does. They have a lot of really, really good spice blends. That's their whole store, is just different spice blends. They have like a couple hundred of them, and they have one in particular called Northwoods. And if you take a couple salmon fillets and you do in a small flat dish, if you do a little tiny bit of olive oil and then some Penzies Northwoods on it, then you do like a hint of paprika. Yeah. Then you take one of those brushes and you brush both sides of the salmon. Oh. You can either do that in the pan for 4 minutes aside, or you can do it on the grill for about the same amount of time. And that's the best salmon I've ever eaten.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
It looks to me like there's one up there in DC, isn't there?
I think there is one up here. I know that there's one in Richmond, in Virginia on Carey Street. There's a Penzies. And we like a lot of their stuff. They have a good steak seasoning called Chicago, which is a good salty, peppery, very smoky kind of thing. And then they've got Northwoods, which we like a lot. And some other stuff.
The closest to us, Greg, I'm sorry. The closest to us is in Charlotte or Raleigh,
yeah.
That's a shame. You can order them off their website, though. They're a good company, man. They have got good spices and seasoning blends. They actually have. This is crazy to me. I didn't know this until we were shopping there one day, and they gave us one for free because we bought a couple. We'd gotten a couple other spice blends, and they said, "Oh, hey, we're doing this promo. When you buy 2 or 3 or whatever spice blends, you get a small one for free." And it's, I swear to God, they have a seasoning specifically for frozen pizzas.
Really?
Yeah. Really? You put it on the frozen pizza and it makes the frozen pizza taste. I mean, there's nothing wrong with frozen pizza, but it makes it taste more like a decent pizza.
Yeah. Less cardboardy.
Yeah, definitely less they have they tend to be a little flavorless when you get the frozen ones. Yeah. So they have they have the frozen pizza seasoning, and it definitely adds something to it. Hang on a second, I can do this. Oh shit, that was way too much.
That's
a little rum and coke there.
Oh God, my wife's gonna.
Well. The worst but the best of the frozen pizzas are those little like $1 pepperoni ones.
Oh yeah, good God, man! I used to get
yeah.
Fucking, we used to get those
so
like
bad, but they're
man.
great.
Yeah,
without fail, every single time they burn the roof of your mouth.
Yeah.
Oh, every time.
Fine to do.
Dude.
Yep. That's like a hot pocket. It'll burn your mouth every time.
Woo!
Hot pocket.
My brother Carl, man, he used to live off of fucking Hot Pockets at one time, and good God, man, that guy was just like, he just put in like 2 Hot Pockets, like in the morning, like a breakfast burrito, and the next thing you know, he'd take like 2 Hot Pockets, 2 of the pepperoni and cheese to work with them, and yeah, just every day. I was like, man, you're gonna die, bro. I don't think that's healthy. Like,
when I was in college, I weighed $110 soaking wet. And I'd go to Checkers, and I would get like one of those big, stupid, fat Checkers burgers that should be illegal.
Fuck yeah, man.
I'd get one of those with the fries and the Coke, and I swear to God, there was like a couple weeks where I was having them 4 meals a day.
Well, then they have wasn't it like Wednesdays they had like a special or some shit? You could get like a checker burger for like 99 cents or some shit, like one of those big ones.
Maybe.
Don't they have a limit?
I love like Checkers fries, man. Their seasoned fries were the bomb, man.
Oh man, food is great.
Yeah.
You guys should just do a video podcast about food.
Oh jeez.
We could do that.
Yeah, I know. We could be the fill-in for Epic Meal Time. Not a problem.
We're not really constrained. We've got an open-ended show. We're not constrained. We're free.
Yeah, no, I mean.
Like it now, things to do with grilled chicken breast. Like just mix it up and just have fun.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, awesome. I love like a boneless, skinless chicken breast. Like I'll get like the grill mate marinade and stuff like that, and I'll just I'll do that. I'll soak it into the meat. Usually, like I'll do it like I'll wait like half a day. Or sometimes if I can wait that long, like full day, and then I'll just let it marinate, because I'll cut up like the chicken breast, cut up all the fat, and put it into like this big bowl, and then I'll bake it, and then I'll just have them for like meals throughout the week.
Yeah, a guy I know used to do that. He would do that thing where you, like you said, where you cook. Like on a Sunday night, you cook like 5 of them, and then you just keep them in the fridge or whatever, and you heat them up throughout the week, and you have your meals.
Yeah, I mean that's what I used to do, man, for like the longest, man. Even like because when I was in college, man, we had like college spaghetti was like ramen noodles and fucking ketchup, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember the MRE? The MRE pizzas, don't you?
Oh yeah, dude, they were shit, bro. Especially if they were cold. Good God, man.
No, when I was in, the MRE pizzas were those shitty crackers they had, and then you put the ketchup on it that they sent you, and then the squeezed cheese, and then the rehydrated sausage patty.
Oh God, yeah. I tell you though, man, it's like we used to make like MRE bombs and shit, and Ranger pudding, man. And all that jazz, and Ranger
pudding was amazing.
Yeah, I know, dude. It's fucking killer, man. It's the bomb diggity.
You just take Johnny. You just take crackers and crush them up in the cocoa, and you barely rehydrate the cocoa, so it makes it nice and thick. Shit's good.
Oh. One of our
sometimes I'd put
college, that. One of my friends, one of the guys I lived with, he would take. I don't remember the exact recipe, so don't try this at home. But he would basically make, like a pound of taco meat. You brown a pound of ground beef. You use the packet of Old El Paso or whatever the hell. You get it ready. At the same time, he had a I can't remember if it was a double boiler or whatever, and he would melt like a pound or 2 pounds of either it was like Monterey Jack and like a couple other kinds of cheese all together, and he would season them and he'd mix them all up, and then we would just sit around the table with this like hot plate of sauce on, we did hot plate of taco meat and melted cheese simmering on low, just with like a one of those like party-sized bags of Tostitos and just scooping and eating.
Okay.
Just for like 30, 40 minutes, just right up until the moment you realize you've had so much that last bite might have sent it all coming back up. Like you'll have to find out later, you know?
Well, that's what, man, that's like a funny thing you say that, man. Like that's what we did like in the military, man. If we had to go back on post, man, fucking, we didn't want to like just sleep in the car, man. Like we would fucking like go and just order like a big nacho cheese. I mean, and they would have like the big fucking industrial size, like this fucking big. And it's just like up to fucking here, man, with like nachos, cheese, and all this other green shit. And yeah, man, we just fucking until we could fucking sober up, man, and get back to post.
Yeah, that's the good stuff.
Oh God, man, yeah. It wasn't too good on the other the next day, but yeah.
I'm starving. All right, we got to move away from the food talk. I'm very hungry now.
Okay.
And fortunately, Kelly and I are trying out a new food service, like Blue Apron, which we tried before. It's a new one, like Marley and Me or something. I think they serve dog, but it's a new one. And one of them, she's gone.
Spoiler alert.
She's gone all week. She's gone all week, and I have the meals, and one of them is a steak meal, and so I'm gonna probably cook that this evening after we're done.
That's awesome.
I think it's seared spiced steak. Oh.
Just real quick, man. Did you
turn the camera off?
I thought about just real quick before we get off this topic. Did you like Blue Apron? What did you think of them? Because I
loved it.
Really?
I loved it. It's very healthy eating. It's small portion food.
Okay.
You get your daily amount of oils that you need because you've got to cook it in olive oil.
Okay.
And there's always garlic in each recipe, so you get plenty of garlic in your diet. It's very healthy. Very
now,
healthy.
Was it?
What was that?
I said I was asking. Do you think it was like cost effective? Did you see that?
It was for Kelly and myself because it's just me and her.
Okay.
And we tended to overcook because we're used to having kids in the house, and so we threw a lot of food out. And using these meals, we were getting 3 a week. We're doing 2 a week on this. And what's nice is nothing is wasted. We eat the entire meal because it's a small portion meal, and we're full, and we have no waste. So we're not throwing anything out. So it was cost effective for us.
Okay.
We're buying a lot less groceries now because we don't need to buy all the ingredients for stuff. What is really neat about it is you're actually preparing the meal. You're actually cutting up everything and cooking everything, and it's all whole food healthy. You've got whole vegetables, whole fruits. When they send you spices, they send you like a whole thing of chives or a whole thing of all the recipes call for garlic. So every time your box comes in, you've got 2 cloves of garlic if you've got 2 meals.
Oh,
so I agree
with we've tried. I mean, we've had Blue Apron maybe like a half a dozen times, and we didn't sign up for like a regular thing per week or whatever. We do it pretty much, one meal at a time. But we've really liked it when we've tried it. For us, the way that we ordered it, and I don't know if the prices have changed or if it's cheaper to get it by the week or the month or whatever. For us, it was a little bit expensive, but it was the important thing was A, as Schwartz said, it was healthy. Okay. B, it's fun. It's cool. You get just like a box in the mail, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, tonight I'm going to make like crazy, awesome, authentic Indian food that has 5 seasonings and vegetables that I've never heard of. So let's fucking do that. Like it's cool.
And that's what's really cool about it, Johnny. That's what's really cool about it is you're cooking stuff that you've never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you've seen the ingredients, you're cooking it in such a way that you've never seen before. And it's amazingly fun to learn that. Like I used black garlic for the first time ever, and I had no idea that black garlic was supposed to be mushy and soft and stuff. And it freaked me out. I had to look it up on the internet. I'm like, is this shit good? But it was supposed to be that way.
Yeah, no.
So it's really cool.
It is good. It's and the thing is, like, going to restaurants is awesome, and I would never boo-hoo that, because I've had amazing meals before out at restaurants. But the cool thing about doing Blue Apron is that you get to see all the ingredients before, during, and after. Whereas, like, if you go to a restaurant, you have this plate of delicious food served to you, and you're like, oh, what's that flavor? Oh, is that one seasoning that was on the menu that I don't know if that was that, or maybe this is combined with that or whatever. But when you do it with Blue Apron, you get to appreciate the whole process, and therefore you taste every ingredient more distinctly than you would have if you just ordered it from a restaurant.
Well, that's pretty cool, man.
It's good stuff.
Hell yeah.
That's my phone.
Is it really? You need to take that?
I'm ignoring it. No, I know who it is.
That Mission Impossible stuff, you know.
Answer!
G7 classified.
It's Aaron, my artist.
Oh, really? How's that going?
Yeah, he tried to call my cell, and I sent him a message. He obviously didn't see that I'm doing the show, so he tried to call the house.
maybe he did see it, and he just really wants to be another guest.
I know. It's like you should be like, "Hey, you are live on Gentlemen with Cocktails. What's your name? Who are you? You must be.
Let me see if he wants to be on.
Leo, you know, to know that we were on. You know, call me now.
Oh, I see Schwartz, so I'm not enough for you. Is that how this?
You are more than enough for me. You are more than enough for me, sir. You fill me up.
More ways than one, huh?
There's plenty of me to go around.
He is hung like
has gone off the rails.
He is hung like an angry hamster.
Oh, fuck, dude.
Like a pissed off gerbil. He's like, yeah, fuck you, Chris.
It's funny though, because I'm realizing how dark it looks in my room. My house is not the
Bat cave. The night you are Batman. It's like,
no, I promise I'm not. My house is not the Bat Cave. Like, it's I can't make it look any. It's funny because I have the overhead on and I have the little hall light on to my bathroom, but it just ain't happening. Look, now I'm scary and blue. And no one needs to see that. Buckle up, Lupsha.
No, dude. Hey, man, this is like a pretty much free form, man. Like, you can go off the cuff, man, off the rails, man. I mean, we've done that before.
But leave your pants on.
Yeah.
Who said I had any
on?
Well, that's fine. Just don't pan down. You know, you can be like every other. You can be like every judge in America and not wear any pants under your robes, but and be like them and don't show it to anybody.
That's why I always wanted to be a news anchor.
Yeah, no shit.
I just assume behind those desks, either naked or boxers with little hearts on them.
Oh my gosh.
You'd be the new Ron Burgundy. Fuck you, San Diego.
My mouth, bro. I love that movie, man.
It's so funny.
I haven't seen the second one, man, but I love the first one, man.
I don't mean this in a mean way. Isn't the second one, like, didn't they just have enough leftover footage from the first movie to just make a second movie out of it? Or did they really go back and film the second movie?
It seemed to me that they had written enough for a good part of the first movie, and then it just fell apart halfway through. Or in the second film, it fell apart halfway through the film.
Maybe it wasn't there like a Burgundy 1.5 or something?
Not that I can recall, but if there is, I want to find that footage.
I thought there was.
It's like the first X-Men movie.
Oh yeah, they did the 1.5 version.
Yeah. Before
I have that.
The second one came out.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Is it just the same movie but with longer shots of Hugh Jackman looking angry
and brooding?
Yeah. I was not, when the movie came out, I was a fan of the X-Men, but history has not been kind to it. It's kind of, if you watch it now, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, a lot of movies haven't aged well, and it's a shame because some of them are movies that I really like. Like when you like you jump back 15 years in theaters, that first Sin City movie was so great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But if you turn it on today, there's a lot of like, oh man, yeah,
cringeworthy moment.
Well, that's because Frank Miller was co-director on it with Robert Rodriguez, man. That's why.
Yeah, he's all about the cringe. Look what he did to RoboCop.
He was such a big boy. He directed The Spirit all by himself, you know. So, and we all know how much of a masterpiece that was, you know.
Yeah,
that was the first movie I ever walked out of.
Really?
The Spirit. I got up 20 minutes into the film and walked out. I'm like, this is the worst piece of shit I've ever seen in my life. And it really pissed me off. It pissed me off because, you know, Will Eisner is an icon and The Spirit is a comic book iconic character. And it was just garbage.
I've never actually walked out of a theater, but I have turned movies off. I almost walked out of Pitch Black, which was the first Vin Diesel Riddick movie.
Oh yeah.
That's a rough walk.
I actually enjoyed that film.
Maybe it's aged better, but at the time it was like watching like a Sci-Fi Channel movie.
See, like,
well, I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it on DVD. So
okay, I saw it in the theater.
Yeah,
it was funny because I saw it with my mom, and like every 15 minutes, one of us would just do this to the other.
Well, see, I saw it. I saw it on DVD or VHS. I can't remember which one, but I rented it from Blockbuster. I remember that.
There you go.
When I was in Orlando, Florida.
You go. They're a sponsor, by the way.
Yeah, Blockbuster. Going strong, still in Alaska.
That was my first job.
What? You worked at a Blockbuster?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I worked at my first job. I worked at a Blockbuster.
Yeah, man. Dude,
this show is sponsored. This show is sponsored by both Blockbuster and Toys R Us.
Yeah.
Throwing a shout out there.
And the letter Q, by the way, you know.
And the letter Q.
And the letter Q.
which stands for things like Quiznos, who did not sponsor the show.
Exactly.
Fuck you.
You see how it all ties back to food? It's a Saraka.
Yeah, we bring it all back around. I thought about doing a cookbook once. I don't know enough awesome original recipes, but I thought about doing a cookbook at one point. I thought it would be cool to do, and my mom still bothers me about this like constantly. I was gonna do a geek cookbook.
Mm-hmm.
So just easy recipes for people like me who are just starting out, figuring out how to cook. And I came up with it when I was in college. So it was like how to make simple food that looks fancy to impress women. And I never got around to it, but I've got some recipes squirreled away, just not enough.
Well, a good one is cinnamon toast. So if you're gonna throw some impressive recipes together, cinnamon toast is one of them. I would definitely recommend.
Dude, I love that awkward. You chimed in with cinnamon toast. That's the best.
That's my superpower.
That is certainly an aphrodisiac.
Like nobody's business.
That's not true.
Schwartz knows what I'm talking about. He's had to split a table with me before.
Oh, really?
By like 2 p.m., Schwartz is like, "Oh God, stop talking."
That's not true.
Shut up.
That's not true. One of the best times I had at a con was when we had that table together.
When we did the Awesome Con table.
Yeah,
that was so
fucking
cool.
Awesome Con.
Where's Awesome Con?
It's in DC, and it's not really a comic book con. It's more of a media con.
Oh, that's cool.
It kind of sucks.
And do you remember that at some point was it the second day in? At some point, we just started shouting really loud. We just go, "Books!
We got books!" Yeah, son of a bitch, it came up.
What's up?
There was a guy that came up, and I think it was at that show, who he asked me why I didn't write a comic and why I wrote a novel instead. And I told him because I wanted to write a novel, and he said he wasn't interested anyway because all he read was My Little Pony.
Oh, right. I remember that.
Was he a brony?
And I told him, get away from the fucking table.
That's fucked up, dude.
Do you remember that lady? Do you remember that young lady
get the
came
fuck
up?
away from me.
Do you remember that young lady came up and for like 10 minutes she was trying to sell us on Doctor Who?
Yeah.
You got about Doctor Who?
And we were like,
oh, and there's a TARDIS. Oh, and there's butt plugs, whatever those things are called. Oh, and there's the Doctor, and there's the girls. Oh, and he's got a little thing that looks like a little dildo or whatever. And finally after like 10 minutes, she's like, I can't believe you haven't seen. You have to watch Doctor Who. And I said to her, Schwartz, this is the best thing I've ever said to anyone at a con. And I got to say this quietly because my kids are in the next room. I said, that's okay. I'll be all right over here with my genius IQ and my enormous dick.
That's awesome, man.
I'm not really that arrogant.
I was very
really, really ridiculous to say.
I was very politically incorrect. I said there's a reason they call it a TARDIS.
TARDIS? Oh, jeez.
Because it started.
It started. I guess, Johnny, a Whovian, you are not.
I don't have anything against it whatsoever, but I don't.
Yeah,
I never understood when people say you have to see this. It's the best thing ever, because you know what? They're going to say that about something else in a week.
Yeah.
If I say this is the best thing ever, I really got to mean it. Like, oh, have you seen Seven Samurai? It's the best movie ever made. And then in like 30 years, when I am in my mid-late 60s and some other movie comes out and it's better than Seven Samurai, I'm going to walk it back and I'm going to apologize to everybody. And I'm going to say, I'm sorry, Seven Samurai was the best movie ever made.
Oh, yeah, like
from 1953 to 2045 or whatever. But now this other movie has topped it. So second best.
Man, Muppets Take Manhattan.
I apologize for giving you incorrect information.
Yeah, I mean, well, Magnificent Seven topped the Seven Samurai, man, and so there we go, man, and not the remake, man, the original, man.
The original one's based on Seven Samurai.
I know it was.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I actually, I think
Johnny's a movie snob. Johnny, unfortunately likes Stanley Kubrick, and I do not.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about you and Kubrick.
Really?
I think he's a hack, and Johnny likes him.
I think he's brilliant, but I think he was
each his own.
I don't. Yeah, I mean,
huh?
What's up? Go ahead, Johnny. Sorry, man.
Oh, I said I think he's brilliant, but I think he was a jerk.
See, man, I could not get into Dr. Love Strange. I couldn't get into. I don't.
Strange Love.
Oh, I say Love Strange. Oh, yeah, Strange Love. Sorry.
Love Strange, which is something you do on the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. You know me so well. Down at the Fuzzy Holes, if anybody wants to come, they say women only. Around here, you know. It's one night.
Truly a strip club. That's truly a strip club down here. It's called the Fuzzy Hole.
Yeah. And they do have one night only men. And it says women only, but apparently when I'm ever there, performing for pesos, there tends to be the male attraction there as well. So Daddy got to pay the rent money.
Yeah, no, I understand. Whatever you got to do.
Exactly.
People pay me to put my clothes back on.
That's too funny.
I'm the anti-stripper.
Oh Lord.
I walk out. I walk around places naked, and people go, "Oh God, how much do I have to give you to cover that up?"
But you told us you have a dick, so it kind of works out, So it's just like,
if you like bullet hole scars and stretch marks, the Fuzzy Hole is the place for you.
What's the address? No, I'm kidding.
I know it's on Main Street. I can't remember what it. Yeah.
They will allow you at that joint. They will allow you to throw crack rocks on the stage instead of money.
Yeah, there's like broken glass everywhere.
Oh, that's rough.
You can throw crack or meth on the stage, and they'll take the tops off. Not that you want to see them, because usually they have breasts that they call waist high and knee high.
That's good.
Oh goodness, the local strip culture.
Well, at least they don't ask you for full or skim. You know, it's like.
Well, Johnny, let's talk about your Fog World books.
Right, that was a great intro. Let's get this started.
It only took 20 minutes.
Let's get something on the agenda done, which we never do, dude. We never do. We always end up on a tangent.
No.
Talking about, like, he was like, Johnny Lawrence is a god.
Yeah.
He's like, Johnny Lawrence was the hero of that film.
He fucking is. We can rewind the tape if you want. Shit. Mr. I mean, this guy. I mean, does he not know that there's laws in fucking America that you can't like abuse children physically? What the fuck? I mean,
yeah. Mr. Miyagi, he just beat the shit out of some kids, and it was all okay.
I always felt bad for him in Karate Kid.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Johnny?
Oh,
yeah.
Miyagi?
No, Johnny. Not Miyagi.
Johnny.
Miyagi can go
Johnny was a punk.
I mean, look at, okay, so this is how sadistic.
Johnny was a punk.
This is how sadistic, okay, real quick. This is how sadistic Mr. Miyagi was.
We're going to do this again.
He was vicariously living his abusiveness through Daniel LaRusso. You know, his sadistic, you know, his sadomasochistic ways through fucking Daniel LaRusso. You know, I mean, it wasn't until no one was fucking around, no witnesses, that he started abusing children physically. But no. Out in public, he teaches this dude to whack on, whack off, or whatever, you know, rake the clubs, whatever the fuck he does. Yeah, I mean, come on, man.
I've never been whacked on. Okay, once, but I was young and I needed the money.
You were in college, weren't you? It was an experimental stage.
Make it quick. I've got British Lit in the morning.
It was cold, and I needed a little warm lotion.
Anyway,
yeah.
Lock it up, Schwartz.
Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Anyway,
Johnny, that's not bad, man.
I'm gonna start telling Schwartz to lock it up whenever he gets off on a tangent.
I'm terrible when it comes, dude. Johnny Lawrence, my man, dude. So it's like that's. He's a man, and I've got real passion and fire, man, when it comes to Johnny Lawrence. So I'm sorry. I'll take the hit. I'll take the bullets. I'll take the heat for that one, man. That's my bad. Sorry.
Anyway, let's talk about Fog World.
Yes, please.
Yeah, we can do that. I've heard of that.
Fog World.
We're never going to get through, man.
The first novel, which I read halfway through and lost, unfortunately.
That is the worst thing to say to a guest.
Is probably one of the worst things I've ever. No, I'm just kidding.
Haven't finished it.
The first novel, which I threw in the garbage.
I love it.
No, it is. If anyone likes kind of a kaiju, weird sci-fi futuristic world where cities are built on the backs of these giant beasts, it's an incredible idea. Something I don't think I had ever seen before or read before. And what I did manage to read of it before I lost it, it was lost in the hospital when I was injured. It was phenomenal. It was very film noir, detective story that I really, really, really liked. I love the main character. And I really suggest that someone pick the book up and read it. It's beautifully written, and I don't normally say this, but Johnny's a good writer.
Really, that's awesome.
And it's fantastically written, and it hooks you. It hooks you right in, and there's a lot of really neat stuff going on with what was her name, Iris?
Yep.
That unfortunately I didn't get to see the reveal of because I lost the book. But is this second novel? I know that it takes place in the same world. Just set our watchers up. Let them know what they're looking at here, as far as Fog World itself, and then what to expect in the sequel. Is it a direct sequel? Does it have the same characters in it, some of the same characters, or is it just a standalone?
Sure. I guess I can pitch the universe real quick, and I can spoiler free. I can sum up the first book and how it leads into the second. And then
Great.
Tell you a little bit about the second. So I have a background. My diploma is in journalism, and so I literally studied for years on just how to get to the bottom of stuff and how to research stuff and get all the info you need and how to explain it to people. And I love sci-fi. I love horror. I love, a little bit of fantasy here and there, but I really, really like things in terms of what I want to write. I wanted to stick with something that was mostly realistic. And so with Fog World, I had this idea, and I was like, what if we had to leave the surface, which is an idea that kind of was inspired by, I don't know if you've ever read the book or played the video game, Metro 2033. Good stuff. It's all about how people were just living their daily lives in the middle of Moscow or St. Petersburg or whatever. And it's crazy. Like, I don't know, in a matter of like a minute and a half, like aliens landed or something. And then also the Russians nuked wherever the aliens landed because they thought it was going to be the end of mankind. So the only people who are still alive are people who were close enough to the subway stations to run in and go downstairs, and they live off of like mushrooms which grow in the dark, and stuff like that. And so they have very little. And despite the crazy premise, it's very lo-fi and it's very low tech. So I was thinking about something similar that'd be kind of cool, like Mad Max or kind of like the Fallout games or something like that. And so I was thinking, like, what if we had to leave the surface, and what if there were cities built up on the backs of enormous creatures that were like kind of like peaceful Godzillas or like peaceful Pacific Rim monsters or something like that. So that's where Fog World kind of came from. But the premise is that as of like tomorrow, these 13 enormous kaiju that are about 14 or 1,500 feet tall, they all come up out of the ocean, out of the depths of the Mariana Trench, and they just kind of start roaming the earth pretty peaceably. They don't really care about us one way or the other. So this is not, Godzilla King of Monsters or War of the Worlds or whatever. They really don't care about us. They just kind of walk around. They accidentally trample some stuff, but that's it. And but meanwhile, right behind them comes up this red orange fog that it goes up to 1,000 feet high, and over the course of about 18 months, it covers the entire surface of the planet. And the fog is poisonous. It's carrying a respiratory illness that is incurable and has a 100% fatality rate. And I looked into respiratory illnesses and different lung diseases or whatever in order to make it as realistic as I could. And so I get into detail a little bit more in the books, but what it comes down to is that we have to leave the surface permanently because the fog is spreading. We don't have a lot of time, and we haven't made any headway in curing whatever disease it's carrying. So a bunch of ideas get batted around. And the one that I stick with in the Fog World series is, what if we built really quick, like ramshackle, small towns on these creatures? If the fog is 1,000 feet high and their backs are 1,500 feet high, then if we built cities up on their backs, there'd still be fresh air up there. So, I have that. Some of that I've explained. Some of it's still in my head. And the first book, Wandering City Blues, which Schwartz read, he didn't finish it. But the first book takes place.
I almost finished it. It's phenomenal.
Thank you. The first book takes place 99 years after we leave the surface for good. And so there are it's hard. It's like a hard-boiled detective story. It's very noir inspired. It starts out as a murder mystery, and spoiler-free, things get a lot bigger and a lot crazier. And by the time you get to the end of the book, you've seen, a suicide cult, and you've seen one of the colossi has been overtaken by inbred cannibals, and things are really, really crazy up top. But when the mystery is solved, the last sentence of the book, and this is not a spoiler at all because it's totally, totally different. Between all the colossi that the first book takes place on, there's a lot of unrest between them, and like intercolossal relations start to break down. And the last line of the first book is, war was coming to the beast cities, which I call Theriopolises, which is Greek for beast cities. So I say war was coming to the Theriopolises. And the second book is it's a war book, and it's a little less like Hamburger Hill and Saving Private Ryan and Blood and Guts. It's a little more personal. It's a little more like Thin Red Line, or some other stuff like that. And the second book is going to be called City Limits, and it is 5 stories all set during humanity's last global conflict, which is I call it Fog World War. And it is all about how we can possibly fight global conflict without fighter jets, bombers, submarines, aircraft carriers, tanks, troop transportation vehicles, trenches, or really, for the most part, land to fight over. No nukes, etc. So, the tagline for the book is we can wage war anywhere. And so a lot of it is about how we figure out, we have the last 30 to 40,000 people living in these cities. And the question is, great, we've got this land, or we've got these tiny spaces. How do we kill one another on them? Because that's kind of how humans are. And so, it's not at all anti-military. It's not governmentally controversial, or whatever. It's just about people during the war and how they're gonna get through.
You're just pointing out a human condition, and our human condition is that we always find something to fight over.
Yeah, exactly. We do,
and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it sucks, but it's how we do. It's I really believe in people in small numbers. I think that when we get into really big groups, eventually someone's going to say, let's take down that group over there. And a bunch of people are going to be like, right on, let's do it. Yeah. And so, we got
candy.
Yeah. We like to draw lines in the sand, I think, as a species. And so I kind of go into that a little bit in the book. And
that's kind of like tribalism.
Yeah, it is. It is. There's kind of, there's that. So the next book is 5, or the City Limits is 5 stories. One of them is a story about Iris, who has become sort of an ambassador and a public figure since the events of the first book.
She was a great
story about a young lady named Olivia Ryan, who lost everything at the beginning of the war. One of them is a story about a guy named Frank Wurzel, who his Colossus has been occupied, sort of like how the British were here before the Revolutionary War. And so he is kind of cracking under the pressure of that. One of them is about a young soldier boy named Ellis, who in my head reads kind of like a cross between like Woody Harrelson and Jack Kerouac. And his thing is he's kind of trying to deal with his own cowardice while also dealing with there may be a traitor in his unit, in his platoon. And then the last the fifth is about a guy who's a bare knuckle boxer on a Celtic Colossus. So the Colossus is mostly Irish and Scots and Welsh and Cornish, and he's a bare knuckle boxer, and he's got to make some major career decisions as the war comes to his doorstep, so to speak.
Oh wow,
that's very cool.
I look forward to it.
Sorry, I just realized
I absolutely do.
10 minutes straight.
No, dude.
No, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's what it's about. I'm a big fan of your work. Your fiction is phenomenal. I cannot wait to. I'm going to have to, of course, buy the first book again, but I will definitely pick up this second one. I fell in love with the world you created. I love the idea of the 13 colossi and how they migrate across the planet in specific ways, and how they use that. It's fascinating, man. It's like watching a documentary.
Thank you. Yeah, it's funny because that part, it was really tempting just to go easy on myself and just kind of bullshit it for the convenience of the story. But believe it or not, as you'll see if you look at the hang on one second. Sorry. If you look at the
What's he doing?
I had to wipe off my computer screen. I accidentally, you're talking and you gleek a little bit.
Oh, you gleeked?
Nobody's perfect. So, but if you look in the first book,
I think it's great you call it a gleek.
I list all the colossi, or not all of them, but several of them. I list where they make their stops and how fast they travel. And I actually got on Google Earth and I looked up how many miles were between one city and another. And then I figured out how long that would take for a Colossus to make it from point A to point B. And, if they stopped for whatever, an hour over at each place, and how long would it take them to go around the world. And then if they go around the world once every 5.5 months, then I had to figure out, then where would they be 104 years, 7 months, and 23 days after the fact? And so I had to, I actually plugged all that in. So if I say like, oh yeah, this one pulled up to this rooftop in LA on September 25th at 9 a.m. I figured it out like down to the minute. It took weeks of planning it all out. But that's cool. I'm hoping no one checks my math because I might have fucked it up somewhere. But that's what I did.
I love the societies that you set up. I love the, they've basically gone back to medieval living. They have modern implements and they, the ones that still work, they use them. But they basically had to reinvent society on the backs of these giant beasts. And it's fascinating as hell. It's Greg, I really suggest if you get a chance to pick the first one up and read it, and you'll love it, and you'll want to pick up the second one, I'm sure.
Yeah,
because the first one is fascinating.
What was I going to say? Oh, right. Going back to, since I got my degree in journalism and stuff, except for the Colossi, pretty much everything else is built on currently existing science, medicine, and technology. I was talking earlier about how I figured out where some of the different colossi would stop and for how long and how far it was between cities. That's all that all comes back to what I went to school for. I didn't want to have a whole lot of goose eggs or mulligans or whatever you want to call them. I didn't want to take too many liberties with reality because I figured enormous creatures coming up out of the ocean, that's already a big enough stretch. I didn't want to test anyone's suspension of disbelief like any further than that. So like my disease I researched and I figured out how they name diseases. And so I gave it like a realistic name, the nickname is Red Lung, which I patterned after Black Lung, which coal miners get. But the official name for my disease is Arancia rosa alveolar pneumoconiosis, because I had to look up, I looked stuff like that up. And same thing with how people get from one colossus to another. They use, a ballista is like a crossbow the size of a Buick they used to use in the Middle Ages. So in Fog World, they fire a ballista. It's got a kind of like a kind of like a grappling hook on it, and it fires onto a rooftop, and they reel it in because it's trailing a rope. So they reel it in, and they zip line down to a rooftop, and then they throw the anchor back over so that the Titan can reel it back up and go on about their business. And the people wait for days or sometimes weeks in order to have another colossus come along and pick them up. So I kind of it's kind of like having a layover at an airport, or if you're waiting for a train at a subway station. And so the first big thing to do was how to turn the Earth into a global transit system.
Yeah, it sounds like some old school really shit, man. Because if you have a family and you're a delegate, it's like, okay, I'll see you when I see you. I guess in a month. So it's
yeah. And that's a lot of people saying okay, I'm going to go solve this murder mystery. You'll hear from me in 8 or 10 months.
Yeah.
So very, very old school. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I loved building the world. It was cool because when I realized I wanted it to be the first book to be like a noir type of story, I was like, you can't have a detective who doesn't smoke if you're writing an old, Mickey Spillane, Sam Spade type of story. So I was like, okay, well, tobacco kills soil, so you'd have to rotate tobacco among a lot of soil, and these people obviously don't have a lot of dirt up there. So what can I have them smoke instead of tobacco that doesn't kill soil and maybe can be grown indoors, like hydroponically or aeroponically, like weed. So, I had to figure stuff like that out. And, well, how are they going to make fire if there's no lighters and if there's no matches? And what are all the ways that people use to do that? And, how do you capture and filter rainwater? How do you carbonize coal or whatever? Or how do you carbonize potash or wood or whatever in order to make coal? And just blah, 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 tons of stuff.
That's pretty cool.
It's fascinating. It's really good. I highly, anyone watching, if anyone ever does,
hey,
if anyone ever watches our show, and if you do, I really appreciate it. But read Johnny's books. I mean, they're especially the Fog World series. It's it's huge. It's excellent.
Thank you so much. And Schwartz, you're in there. I have a minor character.
What am I, a mascot?
No, I have a character in one of my I have a chapter that's a large scale battle fought between two different colossi, and I think you read it. The Battle of New York, I think, is the name of the chapter. Yeah. You're in there. Anyway, so there's this one colossus and there's another colossus, and they are obviously firing guns at each other over the gap, and they are using those big, enormous 3-person slingshots for water balloons that we used when we were kids. They're using those to lob Molotovs and grenades and stuff at one another. And that's
awesome.
And right around in the middle of the chapter, there's a guy who's he's sort of an infantry guy, and he's in there. And I thought, Schwartzlander would be great, like right here. Have him be just a guy with a little scene who is, somebody comes up and says, oh, hey, I'm looking for so-and-so. And then the soldier turns around and goes, oh, yeah, sorry, no luck. And then, sees that the person's injured and just like, holy shit, look at that person's face. And I thought of you. I thought that would be funny. So I modeled one of the characters after you.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
That got me a cameo.
Yeah. I forget what I have. I forget what his name is right now because You know, from writing fiction, it's hard coming up with names for every single character.
Oh, yeah.
You end up with 10 people a chapter, and you're like, I don't know, can I just name all these women Claire? Will anyone notice?
Yeah. I mean, you know, with this new novel I'm working on, it's a horror novel in the vein of H.P. Lovecraft and Stephen King. So it switches between a lot of different people. You know, I'm dealing with an entire town that collapses because of this rage demon. And so I'm dealing with all these different people that I know in real life, but I'm changing their names and having them act differently than they would in real life.
I got you.
And it's just coming up with the names is it's the biggest pain in the ass of writing.
Terrible.
It really is.
You get like 2/3 of the way through the book and you're like, oh my God, what name have I not used yet?
Yeah.
You have so many, you've thrown out so many. Oh, here's a Greg, here's a Martin, here's a Billy, here's a Jimmy, here's a Todd, a Steven, a Kevin, you know, whatever. And eventually you're like, what have I not? And you start turning to like either actors or like you just open up your vinyl or CD collection. You're like, hey, what's the name of like the assistant mastering, you know, intern, whatever on this? Oh, it's Benjamin so-and-so. Congratulations. You know, Benjamin Waters, whatever. Now you're in my book. Like,
yeah. Well, you know, what was really cool. What's harder about this new book that I'm writing is the people that I'm basing these people on live here. So I can't really use their names, but there are in both Tripping Over Reality novels, almost all the characters are named after a combination of names of people that I know. So cool, that was easy.
My name, go right ahead, man. I give you full permission.
Yeah, well, I might, but you'll be a stripper at the Fuzzy Hole.
Oh, there you go. Hey, man, you know, it's like
and then the owner will come up all mad to the rage virus. Only women strip here, and then you'll fight, and then he'll beat you to death with a sex toy.
Hey, we call those massagers where I come from.
Yeah, but I am serious. I am serious. That the first novel, I wish I had finished it. It's phenomenal, Johnny. It's really, really, really good. And I really haven't been able to talk to you verbally. I know we chat a lot, but I think it's one thing to chat and tell someone something is good, than to actually look at someone in the eyes and tell them it's good. And it's a phenomenal book, man. It really is.
Thank you very much.
I think you deserve a lot of accolades for it because you built a world there that that rivals, you know, Niven or anything Asimov has written, or I mean, it's just it's phenomenal. Philip K. Dick, it's great.
That's
it's great sci-fi.
Honest to God, that means like a whole lot to me. Thank you so much. That's an honor.
Oh yeah, man. I mean,
no problem.
Dick, man. So
amazing.
Saying that it rivals some of that.
Now that we're done sucking each other's dicks.
Oh, good stuff. Oh yeah, but the so the new one's going to be out in hopefully late March. Anyone is I would love it if you look me up on Amazon. First name Jonny with no H, so Jonny. Last name Lupsha, Lupsha. Wandering City Blues is the first one. City Limits will be the second one, and I think that's the end of my self-indulgent, self-serving plugging.
You will have it at the All-Star Con.
Oh yeah. I'm right now. All that I'm waiting on is I'll be picking up my ISBN number, and I need my jacket design to come back from my artist.
I have some ISBN numbers. You want one?
There's like 100. Yeah, I'll take one.
I've got 8 of them left. No, 7 left.
Really?
I bought a 10-pack.
Wait, what's the con again that you two are going on?
It'll be the All-Star Con. One of our guests, I think next week or the week after, will be Kevin Bednars, who is the founder of the All-Star Con. And it's a local Northern Virginia show. It's big though. They go big. They get Mike Zeck's going to be there. Gail Simone. Who else is going to be there? Some big creators are going to be there.
How
last year, Jason Aaron was there. It is about 8 hours from here.
Okay.
Tom King's going to be there. He writes Batman.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. I've met him a number of times. He was actually kind enough to buy a copy of Wandering City Blues from me. I tried to give it to him for free and he wouldn't have it. He insisted that he give me money for it.
That's cool, man.
That's cool.
I will say this.
I'm a little upset with Tom King.
Well, I don't really care for his Batman now. Like, I loved it in the beginning, but I loved his Vision. His Vision book was really awesome. His Mr. Miracle, I'm like, okay, what the fuck happened? Because I just read like the last issue of that, and I was just like, okay. But yeah, I mean, from here, seeing him on interviews and stuff, I mean, he seems like a charming dude. He also used to work for the CIA, as he tells everyone. Which I mean, he was like a field agent and stuff. And I actually have like a few issues of his Sheriff of Babylon, which is set in the Iraq War, which I was a part of. So it's like I was really intrigued by that. So yeah, I mean,
I love that about him. It was fun. I got to pitch him. I got to pitch him my Batman story when he bought a copy of my book. I was like, "Look, I'm sorry to do this to you, but I've got a Batman story that's in my brain. Can I pitch it to you?" And he was really funny. He was like, "Yeah, man, tell me what it is so I can steal it and write it into a book."
Well, he will.
Yeah, he was very patient and very sweet, and he listened to me ramble on about Batman. So
that's cool. I'm a little upset at him for the Catwoman marriage bait and switch, but
oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's why I'm just kind of like, all right, man, you done, because I mean, I understand that he wants to write like 100 books or 100 issues of Batman. It's like, dude, you could have wrote like 50 of them to the marriage and then 50 of them while he's married. It's like, and see the dynamic, the difference is just What is your Batman pitch so that someone else can steal it? Yeah.
Oh, my Batman pitch. Yes, I'm going to pretend like we didn't talk about that earlier this week, so I can pretend to be surprised. Oh well, if you really want to know, I mean, I had no idea.
This is a completely unscripted show. We don't talk about anything ahead of time.
Yeah.
Nope, never. Delete chat history. Delete chat history.
Exactly.
Okay, so here's my Batman idea. So it just be patient because I kind of got to go all the way around the world to make it make sense. So in any of the bat-related cities, Bloodhaven or Gotham or whatever, there's like a big public event. Let's say the first one's like a rock concert, and people are dancing, they're having a good time, the band's playing up on stage, whatever, and one dude in the audience starts freaking out of nowhere. He goes crazy and he grabs, I don't know if he pulls a knife out of his pocket or if he sees someone near him is like holding a pistol or whatever, but he grabs something nearby that he can use for a weapon. Maybe even like he grabs a beer bottle out of someone's hand and breaks it, and then he just starts killing anyone in sight who he can as quickly as he can. And eventually the guy is like subdued and the cops come and they investigate and blah, blah, blah. And Batman gets on the scene and he's investigating with like Robin or Nightwing or whoever. And they don't get it because the guy seemed fine and he was in a place that he liked and everything seemed okay, but then he just snapped and went crazy, and they're like, "God, what the hell?" And they go and they look up at the stage and they look in the backstage and all that stuff, and all they can see is normal concert and stereo sound equipment and whatever, right? So they're like, "What's the deal?" And then almost at the same time, a similar thing happens in a neighboring city. Again, a big public event like a county fair or a up at a circus or something. Some guy just goes crazy and just starts killing anyone within reach or attacking anyone within reach. And it's weird because it turns out that all the, it happens again and again and again. It turns out that everyone who's doing this, they used to be inmates at Arkham, but they've been given, they've been declared cured or given clean bills of health by like reputable doctors. And what's freaking Batman out is that the doctors are people who have been publicly endorsed by Bruce Wayne. And so he's like, this isn't like corrupt. These aren't like Joker doctors. These aren't like people in the mob who are setting crazies loose to cause chaos. These are doctors who I know who have said that these people are fit to walk the streets, and now they're all going nuts. And so he's going crazy trying to figure out who it is. And, a bunch of the Bat family are going nuts too. Like, what's going on? There's no evidence, blah, blah, blah. And eventually they find out that the only other thing that they're seeing that's in common, other than where these guys were getting their clearance from, is that at every place where there's an incident like this, they find what are called narrowcasting speakers. And narrowcasting speakers look like those tall home theater speakers on the tripods that were really popular like 10, 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Only they have specially designed acoustics. This is a real thing, by the way. I'm not making this up. They have specially designed acoustics so that they can broadcast specific audio signals to one person in a crowd of 5,000 people. And
cool.
So, what's up?
That's cool.
Yeah, right. It's kind of awesome, right? Cool. And so it turns out they start to find out that these guys are all getting like crazy messages from the narrowcasting speakers that are pointing like directly towards them. And but that's kind of where the trail ends. Meanwhile, back at the beginning of the comic, there are a bunch of fishermen in a rowboat, or not fishermen, but a bunch of guys in a big boat offshore from Gotham, and they are looking at their GPS and they decide like, okay, right here is the location. And then, it fast forwards like 12 months, and right where the pinpoint location was that they had settled on the boat is where they've built this offshore, almost like a military installation for a PMC. And they have this mercenary private militarized force. And it turns out that the people behind the PMC are like Black Mask and maybe Scarecrow, and they're working together to rile up all this chaos so that they can have one of their dirty politicians argue that Batman and the cops can't keep Arkham or Bloodhaven or whatever safe, and so the only answer is to mobilize this PMC to kind of impose like martial law and like, really strict like block by block checkpoints and whatever all over the city. And so it ends up kind of like the third act of Arkham Knight, where it's just crazy, heavy militarized, mercenary occupied Gotham, because that's how these guys willed it. And so, Batman and all them have to figure a way out of it.
That's pretty cool, man.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
That is awesome. I like that storyline.
Yeah.
Thanks. So I pitched that to Tom King, and he said he liked Fog World better, but I liked it was fun though. It was cool. I've always wanted to pitch my Batman idea to someone at DC, so it was kind of like, even though we're just kind of chatting and being silly, it was kind of like a dream come true. It was a really cool moment.
Well, I will say this. He said he liked Fog World better because he's going to steal your idea.
Yeah.
He poo-pooed it, and then you're going to see it in Batman.
Yeah. It's like, hey, I said Tom.
I don't think that's a rude thing. He would know. I'm sure he would never do something like that. I'm sure he's not.
No, he wouldn't.
Just joking around.
Yeah, that's my Batman idea.
I'm just joking around. We're just having fun here, folks. I don't want any fucking dirty letters to me or something.
Hey, it's like $1 million said everybody's got a price. You know what I'm saying? So.
Well, so that's
I know that.
So that's my Batman idea is to use narrowcasting speakers and advanced audio tech to have a bunch of chaos happen in the Bat cities, and to use
That's
that
cool.
as an excuse for a corrupt PMC to impose martial law over those same cities.
Well, yeah, I mean, and like just hearing like what you were talking about, like with Wandering City Limits and or Wandering City Blue, excuse me, and City Limits, and your Batman pitch. It sounds like you try to look for like actually like rationalize and use critical thinking about like real world scenarios, and not try to go too outlandish, like what you're saying before, like where it's like, okay, how grounded can I make this?
Yeah.
And into reality where it's like, okay, because like for me, like I don't mind if a person says, hey, listen, look, magic's in this world. It's like, okay, great, awesome. But you gotta set the parameters. You gotta fucking we need to know what the rules are. You know, what's the rules with this magic? You know, you just can't be like, oh well, I need a Deus Ex Machina, and so I need to write myself out of a fucking hole here. It's like, no. That totally betrays the rules that you set up, these parameters, because now you're moving the goalpost, further and further. I hate that shit.
Like,
me too.
Hold on, and I'm gonna get some hate mail for this. You mean like Marvel with their Captain Marvel movie?
I don't want to.
This character had never been introduced. This character who came out of nowhere, who all of a sudden has existed all this time, but no one's ever heard of her.
Well, we're gonna find out.
That kind of
Nick Fury apparently knew about her because he gave her the fucking pager or the
well,
page.
It's still, come on. That's still it's poor writing is what it is. I'm gonna punch Marvel in the face for it.
Everyone's been guilty of it from time to time, but yeah, I've seen a couple of them in the MCU, which is a shame.
Well, I'm not happy because the MCU has, I think, 3 times tried to at least show Adam Warlock or talk about him a little bit. And to be honest with you, the savior of the Marvel Universe in Infinity Gauntlet was Adam Warlock. So I mean, you're introducing him, and then you're just not going to use him. That's kind of weak.
Well, it's also too you gotta the simple factor of all this James Gunn fiasco, and now he's doing the new relaunch of Suicide Squad, and
which I'm happy with.
You do like they just came out and they said that he was actually offered to do Man of Steel 2, but he I believe yeah, the sequel.
The Search for Curly's Gold.
yeah.
That's an inside joke, folks.
I think that a lot of major comic movies and stuff have had the occasional Deus Ex Machina or Mulligan or
the kind happens.
Escape. I think that DC's was probably the Martha scene in Batman vs Superman. I don't think that it was as bad as everyone else thinks it was, because in my opinion, I think when Bruce heard his mom's name, he realized, like, oh my God, I'm not at all what my parents would want me to be. What am I doing? I'm about to kill this dude who has always proven himself to be acting in our best interest. That's, like in the beginning of Batman, like your father would be ashamed of you.
Yeah,
I think it also.
You got problems with the monster.
I think it also made him realize that not only that he's fighting this alien, but this guy's got a mother too.
Yeah, and I think I think that
maybe more human.
The way that it was written, shot, and directed, it made it pretty ham-handed. So I understand why people don't like it so much. I don't think it's as terrible as a lot of people do. But the other the tit for tat on that, the thing that I'm not crazy about with the MCU was that they spent 8-10 movies showing that Iron Man was Tony Stark was very anti-establishment, anti-government, anti-oversight, anti-regulation. I'm a private businessman. I can do what I want. He was very much a free market capitalist who, if you watch the beginning of Iron Man 2, it's 10 minutes of him telling a Senate congressional hearing to go fuck themselves because he doesn't trust the government to have anything to do with the Iron Man tech. And simultaneously, if we stick a pin in that, up to that point, Captain America has been very, very pro-establishment and very chain of command and very law and order with S.H.I.E.L.D. and with the military and all that stuff. All the lines, "Oh, you're here with a mission, sir," and, all that sort of thing. And "I'll do what I have to do, aye," and all that sort of thing. And then in Civil War, in comics, characters 180 all the time. You kind of gotta, it's kind of, you get a plate of dinner that's comic books, and people 180ing all the time is all the vegetables you got to eat in order to get to the good shit. But in the comics, I understand it. But in the movies, after they spend 10 movies saying Tony Stark's anti-establishment and Captain America's pro-establishment or pro-authority, legal, red tape, chain of command, whatever, they 180'd it so fast in the first 10 or 15 minutes of Civil War, it actually spun me right out of it. And I had a hard time with the remaining 2 hours.
Here's the issue I had with it. And I didn't like it when they did it in the comic books because the characters was acting so off canon, it wasn't funny. Civil War, for old school comic readers, was a failure. A lot of these big events they've done since House of M have just been shit. Mm-hmm. But Civil War was really bad because you've got 2 characters going at each other, trying to kill each other that would never try to kill each other.
Right.
But in the movies, I would see Captain America. Yeah, he is a by the books guy, and he is a government dude, and he does follow orders. But he would question authority if it meant someone innocent was being hurt.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And I think sorry, go ahead.
So I could see him doing a 180, but not Tony Stark.
Well, okay, they set that up in Age of Ultron, though, man. When Tony Stark had that vision,
which is the worst of the Avengers films.
What? Yeah, but also too, you have to look at like Captain America as he is basically. The way I look at it, I don't. Yes and no. He did like a 180 because the simple fact is that he's all about constitutional rights and stuff like that. And when Civil War, when the actual comic book came out, I mean, I was in the military when that came out, and it's
you're a kid.
What? I'm like 40, dude.
You're still wet behind the ears.
But the fact.
What do you mean you're like 40? How old are you?
Oh, we won't get into that.
How old are you? Handsome Cobra?
I had a birthday just recently.
How old were you on your birthday?
Put me on the spot.
I forgot to wish you a happy birthday. I was going to come over here and give you a birthday blowjob.
Well, thanks, buddy. But
how old are you?
So getting back to Captain America.
How old are you? Come on, don't be ashamed, man. I tell everyone all the time I'm 50 because I look damn good.
Hey, Greg, I'll tell you how old I am. It'll make you feel better because I'm younger.
What's
I'm next month.
He's 12. He's a very hairy 12-year-old.
Yeah, I got 40 holes. I don't know what to tell you. Next month I'm going to be 36.
You said 36?
Next month.
Wow.
Oh, cool, man. Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Did you just turn 40, Greg? Are you feeling bad about it?
He's about to turn 40.
You shouldn't, man. You look great.
Well, thanks, man. Thank you.
I wouldn't have guessed you were 40. I would have said 45, 46.
Oh, shit. Depending on how much liquor you've had so far. Well, thanks, man. That's awesome.
Look at this guy's arms.
The more liquor I have,
Greg's arms. He's just.
What?
Dude, you should see him. He's like a fucking fire plug. The guy's got more muscle than the fucking Hulk.
That's
I was thinking about starting to go to
the secret, folks, is
gym
prune juice. That's all. It's just prune juice. This is all inflate, man.
It's all the time.
Yeah. It's like,
Are you going to start taking me to the gym?
What's up?
Are you going to start taking me to the gym and put me on a lean meat diet?
Hey man, you got blue.
No, I'm serious.
Halfway there, you know what I'm saying? Shit.
I need to get into shape, man. I'm 50 years old. I can barely move with my hip injury.
Well, all right, man. Well, okay. Well, if you're serious, dude, then I will.
I am serious.
Okay, all right, man. Well, then I will try to make up like a.
I'll meet you in JC and we'll go to the gym.
Yeah.
It's not like Kelly can complain about it. She'll be like, "Oh my God, you're getting in shape."
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you want to meet me at the wellness center, they're over at Sycamore Shoals. I mean, that's where I work out at.
Oh, I know where that is.
Yeah, man.
Is that where you go?
Yeah. Yeah, you get a discount as a veteran. It's like $25, man.
That's right there in E-Town, right?
Yeah, Elizabeth. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like from where you're at, you pass.
Yeah.
It'll be past the Walmart on the same side. You know where Sycamore Shoal, like the actual park is? Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah.
Or
right past the post office and all that.
Yeah. But yeah, so okay, getting back to
I'm gonna need a little brush up, and the last gym I was in moved to Miami.
Oh really? Was it LA?
Because he's stoned?
James. The last gym I was in.
Oh God.
James.
Oh God. Oh, that's
What, you can do birthday blowjob, but I can't do gym moved to Miami?
Jim moved to Miami.
Yeah, but you should see Greg's dick.
Should I? I don't feel as though I should.
Yeah, it's like a magic tater pot, you know, it's just the magical.
See my arm? It's like this. It's like my whole arm.
It's not a baby's arm holding an apple.
Exactly. And he's not very tall, so he can use it as a tripod.
Yeah, I'm only like 4'2", you know, so I was like.
He's Wolverine height. He's like 5'3".
Technically, I'm 5'6", but yeah, I guess like 3 inches.
He can play Wolverine.
Who's counting though?
What were you saying, sir? I'm sorry.
No. I was just saying. Oh fuck. No, I need to remember. Yeah. Okay. So Captain America. So Captain America is all about like civil liberties and stuff like that, and that's when. Like, I mean, he threw away the Captain America costume and went nomad and shit. So it's not, that's not far-fetched, man. Like from
exactly.
And so that's why, to me, I thought that they were very altruistic and traditional with that. But like Civil War, I mean, so the comic books were written by Mark Miller and drawn by Steve McNiven, and the thing is that you're talking about like the height of the Patriot Act, which totally violates civil liberties, which even I have, me being a war veteran, and well, you know, you also a military veteran as well, and you were in Panama, you know, and
I have big problems with the Patriot Act.
Yeah, I mean,
I did from the very beginning. Yeah,
I mean, because the reason why the American Constitution is so loose and so set to interpretation is because, you know, the system of government is not supposed to have total rule of our people. Neither are agents of the Constitution, i.e. Constables, police officers, and stuff like that. That's why it's set up that way. I mean, I'm a student of law. I mean, I have a degree in criminal justice, and that's why I'm pretty in depth into this stuff. And that's why I have fucking problems with it. And that's when, like, one of the end panels of the original Civil War is you see a nurse, a policeman, a firefighter, all grappling and tackling Steve Rogers when he's about to fucking kill Tony Stark while he's on the ground. He's like, "Hey man, do you understand what you're fucking doing here?" Yeah. And then it kind of snaps them out of it. It's like, "Oh shit!" And then that's why, and you know, like, take me away.
With that in mind, I may have to go back and reread it, but
it's a great.
But yeah, I'm not saying that Captain America was acting off canon, except for him trying to kill Tony Stark. But Tony Stark was completely off canon. Tony Stark has never taken orders from the government, would never take orders from the government. And he would never. Now, I've read the Avengers since fucking, the 70s, and I'd read everything that existed before that in reprints. And Tony Stark and Captain America were best friends.
Right.
There's nothing short of, say I were Tony Stark and you were Captain America. There is nothing that you could do that would make me want to kill you other than you fucking my wife.
Also, too, man, they were playing on the factor of like guilt, in like both the comic book. I mean, they were playing on the factor of guilt in both the comic books and
they were
the movie. And that's and it's like, I mean, for some people, man, guilt is a form of suicide, man, because some people just cannot live with it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I mean, to me, I thought it was really I don't know, maybe I was more maybe at a time in my life it just hit me a certain way. So when I read it, I was like, oh shit,
It spoke to you. That happens, man.
And I think that
and I'm not saying you're wrong, dude. I'm just saying that this is it's all
no. If it spoke to you, it spoke to you. Sometimes, I mean, there are shit stories out there that I have read that other people hated that just spoke to my heart and spoke to my core. So I get it.
Yeah, and I think
we're allowed to have differing opinions.
I think that with the comics, Marvel's always done a really good job of having Captain America, having Steve Rogers be a pretty decent, weather vane or north pointing compass for patriotism, for being, you love your country, but you're able to admit that it has flaws or faults, and you want those things to get better. And I think that they've done that really, really well in the comics. But with the movies, they did that to an extent, but they made him, again, be a little bit more or a little bit too much gung-ho, what are my orders? Or a little bit too much, even in Winter Soldier, when everything got upended and S.H.I.E.L.D. was totally corrupt and he found out all this really terrible stuff about him, he saw Nick Fury and he was like, okay, what do I do next, sir? And it's like, he was, in the movies, I thought he was too pro-established order. And one of the things that I liked in the comic of Civil War was that Steve seemed to recall that collecting names and putting them in a database was very HUAC and very McCarthyism and very 50s. And he knows from his experience that is one of the darker spots in our recent history of the last 100 years. But in Civil War,
right there.
What's up?
You said the key words right there, though. He was experienced.
Yeah.
See, in the movies, he's only been out of thaw for 6-7 years.
Right.
In the comics, it's 20 years.
Yeah.
30 years. So
that's why I think that, like, even though it would have been really, really alien to the comics, it almost would have made more sense to me, having seen every MCU movie up until that point. It would have made more sense to me having them on the opposite sides. Having Steve continue to say, as he had said every movie since then, having him say, this is what America wants right now. They want our accountability. They want us on the record. They want to regulate and do this and that. And have Tony Stark, who has always been Mr. Free Enterprise, say, no one and getting in the way of Stark Industries and etc. And again, I think that it worked great in the comics because of the hearkening back to McCarthyism or the Salem witch trials, or wherever you want to look at, collecting names for a database and all that stuff that comic book Steve Rogers was against. I was 100% with that. But in the movies, like I said, they hadn't, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, in my opinion, they hadn't fully established that kind of.
Opinions are not wrong.
system beat and we're going to do what's right for the country.
Well,
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think that you're wrong, but I think there can be an argument to be made with the simple fact that, like, okay, so like it's been a while since I've seen Winter Soldier, but I know, like we said about like Nick Fury, Steve Rogers still like, okay, like, what's the orders? But then in Civil War, you see more of it as, and also too, he's like, listen, look, I need to find Bucky. I'm going to go after Bucky. Yeah. And in Nick Fury and Black Widow, they're like, okay, we're going black, we're going dark. And then next thing you know, you have Tony Stark, apparently, I can't remember. I know that it's been a while. I mean, I own Civil fucking War, but I know the big thing is that Steve is trying to get Bucky. It's like, he's like, listen, look, Bucky's the key. I need to get, he's my friend. Also too, it's probably, he feels guilty for what happened to him. That Bucky is now a Russian fucking soldier, the Winter Soldier and stuff like that. And you have all this human emotion. That's his best friend. That's the guy he looked up to. That's the guy who fended off the bullies, and now he's the fucking and even when he became Captain America, you see that Bucky was a bit jealous in the first Avenger, that he was the guy that's getting all the praise and stuff like that. And it's like, the roles have been reversed, and now you have Captain America just so fixated on helping his friend. Everybody else is left to the fucking side, where it's just like, I need to get Bucky. I will not sacrifice my fucking friend who I thought was dead for anything. It's just like, and then they find out that the Winter Soldier was, aka Bucky, was the one who killed Howard and was it Marie Stark, and then just fucking makes Tony go off the fucking hinges, as you would, but as anybody would. And here's fucking Rogers trying to be like, hey, listen, look, man, it wasn't him, he was being used, and motherfucker's like, I don't care, he killed my mom, which I totally understand, but
sure,
on Steve's part too, it's kind of like, okay, he still believes that his friend, I mean, if it's kind of like one of those things where Captain America is the epitome of hope for America. If he dies, hope dies initially in the Marvel universe. So that's like when we have him in.
I know we've been going back and forth about these Captain America films, but when I loved Civil War, the movie.
Yeah, I did too, man. That's why I have it.
I didn't like the comics so much. But I have all the Marvel films. And this is how long they've been out. I have some on DVD, I have some on Blu-ray, and I have some in 4K. But out of all of them, I think the trilogy, the Captain America trilogy, is the best three films of all of them.
Yeah, I will say that. Yeah.
Solid movies, every one.
Yeah, I can see that.
Iron Man, the first movie was good. The second movie was pretty good. I'm a big fan of Mickey Rourke, That gave that movie a pass. The third movie, Thor. The first movie was good. The second movie was The third movie was fun, but it was a buddy cop film. It wasn't a Thor movie. Captain America, all three of those movies were Cap films, and they were good. And the Avengers, the first movie was good. Age of Ultron sucked fucking ass, was probably the worst superhero film I've seen since The Spirit. And that's only because whoever wrote it didn't understand who Ultron was. But the other two films, were excellent. Or, stand the possibility of being here.
Here's my thing about like the MCU, and I've always thought this from the beginning, man. Like where Tony Stark, I love how they switched it up. How Hank Pym wasn't the creator of Ultron, that it was Tony Stark, because I've always seen Tony Stark as the villain, man. He is the ultimate fucking villain of the MCU. I didn't
like that. I didn't like that. The fact that, in the comics they established Hank Pym. Eventually, he became a wife beater, and he was always in the comics leaning towards being that villain type character. Tony Stark was an alcoholic, not a villain. I mean,
well, that's what I'm saying. But that's,
you know,
but these are two different universes, though, man. It's like, you know, that's why.
Yeah, you're right. They're two different things. But let's not stray so far away from source material that we've lost all fucking sense. I mean,
But that's why they're adaptations, though, man. You gotta take liberties where you can, because some things don't work as best in
the big problem I have
as they do on film.
With the MCU is that everything centers around the Stark family, as though there would be no superheroes without the Starks. And that's not the case. And that shouldn't have been the case. They should have written it a little closer to source material, and that would have been great. The big problem you have, though, is that you've got Tony Stark's dad. Now, Tony Stark is supposed to be my age, and Tony Stark's dad is my grandfather's age. So there's an issue there. The guy was alive during World War II. My grandfather was in World War II. So, and then in that scene, you know, before he's killed by Winter Soldier, that motherfucker don't look old enough, you know, at that point in his life to have, you know, it just doesn't make sense. There's a big plot hole there, in my opinion.
I think the biggest hang up I have with it, and they're really well-made movies, and you know,
they're great.
They're pretty and they're fun, and you know, the big hang up I have with them is that, and I always get in trouble when I bring this up, and I apologize if this pisses you guys off. Is that, to me, our superheroes our superheroes are American mythology, right? To me, these are our Zeuses and our Aphrodites and Athenas and Ares and all these guys. This is the closest we have to
they're American
writing
gods.
Stories about gods, right?
Yeah.
And in
there
light
are
of
legends.
that, yeah, and in light of that, I just think it's too damn adorable. I can't get past how cute and funny and totes adorbs it always is.
But I don't, that doesn't bother me so much. I've really enjoyed this series of films. I really have enjoyed
a lot, man. Like you just said it yourself, Thor Ragnarok was a buddy cop film.
But
it's still fun.
Yeah, I love Thor Ragnarok. Taika Waititi, man.
I mean, I've got my complaints about director, but I still enjoyed it.
I watched. It came on,
but it wasn't a Thor movie.
What's up?
It wasn't a Thor film. It still wasn't a Thor movie,
right?
You know,
but it's to me. I have kids, but for the most part, I am through with the totes adorbs portion of my life. I am no longer in it for the lulz. I am bitter and angry, and life sucks, and Donald Trump is in the White House, and everything bad that is happening is happening all at once.
Rest assured, Johnny, that you will eventually get to my place where I am right now, where you appreciate the totes adorb again. You'll get past this fucking bitter part of your life, like I did, and realize that everyone's a dick and you can't do anything about it.
No, I know, but it's just
enjoy life.
I don't get why we have all these bars that we can set for stuff. I missed where cute is the highest bar we can set. And I don't get it. I
agree. I mean, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
That brings me. No. That brings me back to the DC films, the trilogy. Man of Steel, the Justice League, and
Batman v Superman.
The latest one. I've been drinking. Batman v Superman. Now, everyone expected when those films to come out for them to follow the Marvel formula. And they got beaten because they didn't follow the Marvel formula. Now, I dare anyone that complained about those films to go back, and I was talking to Greg, about this before, to go back, and I've done this recently, watch them back to back and watch how they seamlessly flow into one another. And they're damn good movies if you watch them as though they're one film.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean,
now, Marvel's formula was to make a bunch of separate films. DC, they made one big film and split it into 3 movies.
Well, the problem was, man,
and it's great.
DC tried to reverse engineer everything, where it's like just cram everything in because they were trying to. Because everyone knows, man, they were trying to do the Marvel shit.
No.
They were trying to catch up.
That's the Marvel. No, that's the Marvel response to it. But if you watch them back to back, you'll realize that all 3 of those films flow seamlessly into one another, and they make one big movie.
But the problem.
So they're not duplicating the Marvel.
The problem with that is, man, is that if you know the behind the scenes stuff with Batman v Superman, like the ultimate cut, yes, because that was the original cut of the movie. I remember watching Batman v Superman in the movie theater, which is fucking. I mean, I liked the movie, and I was dating a lady at the time who was really big into fucking Batman, and she loved it. I loved it, and she loved it. But looking back at it, what's up?
Did you get some loving? You know. After the Batman movie, did you go?
Handsome Cobra,
Did you look at her and go? Hey, did you look at her and go? I'm gonna tear up that pussy, just like Batman. Did you say that?
You know, I tell you after we're off the air.
I'm just kidding.
No, you're good. But Snyder actually, Zack Snyder showed them because it was roughly 4 hours, man. His original cut was 4 hours, and they were 3.5, and they were like, "Fuck no!" I mean, because they're like, "Hey, great movie, Zach." You know, they're like, "It's like what? It's 3.5 hours for? Fuck that! Hell no!" And then so he had to trim it down to like 2.5. The ultimate or 2 hours. The ultimate cut, which is the better one, which I love because we get more Clark Kent doing actually fucking journalistic work and stuff, going after the Batman and finding out who the fuck the Batman is, you know, because apparently he's over on the other fucking side and he's never heard of him. But I will say, it's a better cut, and that's the only one I'll fucking see, and I own it and on Blu-ray.
I agree with you. I'm not saying that these movies did not have their faults. Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor was fucking horrible. He was trying to channel the Joker, and it didn't fucking work.
Well, you know,
Lex Luthor is a genius and should be treated.
They should have had Bryan Cranston cast as Lex Luthor and to play him like
that would have been amazing.
Well, see, okay,
and not Lex Luthor Jr., but Lex Luthor himself.
Well, see, here's the thing too, is that they originally had Jesse Eisenberg for the role of the Riddler. He was going to be the Riddler. And the thing was, they were going to bring in somebody else to do Lex Luthor. Well, at the last minute, they said, well, fuck that shit. We're just going to make you Luthor. And they wanted him to change. They wanted him to change the way he acted, to be more like the Lex Luthor, I guess, from the anime series. And he was like, whoa, fuck that. You know, no. You hired me to do this. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to act the way I acted. So
I blame the director then, because the director should be able to tell the fucking actor what to do, and if he doesn't do it, you keep him off fucking set.
You have to understand. This movie is made by committee, man. They give Zack Snyder notes, man. The hires above. I mean, you know, if they give you fucking notes, you do what's in the fucking note.
All the hate that Zack Snyder gets is so undeserved. He's an incredible director.
He is.
The work he did on Dawn of the Dead, the work he did on The Watchmen, he has done some of the best films that have come out in the last 20 years. Yet he gets dogged because committee wants to come in and tell him how to fucking direct a movie, and that should never, ever, ever fucking happen.
Yeah, no,
you know?
I agree.
The guy's a great director, and I think people give him shit for nothing.
Yeah, no, I love his movies, man. He's doing a fucking movie for
the 300. My God.
Yeah, man. Dude, I remember, we used to watch that shit, man. Like before I go out on missions and shit, man. Fucking King Leonidas like kicking the motherfucker down the damn God,
hell
man.
yeah.
What about the fucking
This is Sparta!
yeah, oh dude. Yeah, we get
I like
pumped.
how it's been like 13 years, like 12 or 13 years since 300 came out, and yet if you watch it with anyone for the first time, to this day they still go, "Did you just fuck her up the ass?" Right when the bad guy comes and he just,
Oh yeah, he rapes Dionysus.
This is gonna hurt.
"Did you just fuck her up the ass?" I think you just fucked her up the ass. She just gave him the back.
That lady is so hot. She's the lady from Game of Thrones and Dread. She is good. Oh yeah.
Which lady from Game of Thrones?
Lita Headey. She also plays Sarah Connor in the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Oh, was she Cersei Lannister?
Yeah, Cersei.
Yes.
And she was
super hot
in Judge Dredd.
Oh, by the way, I just saw the guy who plays her brother lover on a film. What the fuck was it?
Gods of Egypt.
No. It was a movie where it's a very cool movie. It's he goes to prison and realizes what's that?
I think I know what you're talking about. It's kind of like a comedy, like a dark comedy.
No, it's not a comedy at all. No.
Oh, really? Okay, never mind then. Well, fuck. Okay.
It's a straight-laced dude that goes to prison on a DUI rap, decides to take the time, and ends up rising throughout the ranks of the Aryan nation.
Oh,
just to protect his family on the outside. And it's an incredible fucking film. And when I first started watching the movie, because he had this fucking cool handlebar mustache and all these fucking Aryan Nation tattoos and shit, I didn't recognize it. But when they did the flashback to when he was a dude that worked in an office, I was like, oh my God, that is it's a good film, man. It's a phenomenal movie. And then you realize by the end of the film that the only reason that he's done what he's done was to protect the people that he loves on the outside. And it's cool. It's a good film.
Sounds like Eastern Promises. Man, you ever seen that movie?
What one?
Oh yeah, with Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, good movie.
I can't remember who
except for
man, but it's fucking man, dude. When I saw, especially when they're in that sauna, man, or the tub scene and shit. Oh my God, dude! It's like motherfucker just slipping and sliding and fucking bleeding and knifing the dude. God damn, man. I mean, that was some horrific shit.
This movie's very much like that. So I wonder if it was the same directors, because there are scenes in there where there's just blood everywhere and guys are slipping in it and fighting, and it's insane.
Sounds sexy.
Good stuff.
Have you guys seen, what about the you know what I just started watching that I love?
What about?
I've only seen like one episode of it so far, but I've got to see the rest of it. What? There's a there's a new Netflix show out, and it's a Korean period thing in like the 1400s, but it is about the zombie virus breaking out in like 15th century Korea. I swear to God, it is.
Was it Train to Busan?
What?
Train to Busan?
No. There were no trains in the 1400s.
Oh, 14. Okay.
No, it's called Kingdom.
Oh, okay, cool.
Kingdom.
Is it good?
It's
good?
Amazing. It's amazing. It's like all the production quality and elegance and awesomeness of movies like that aren't as exciting. Movies that are like Anna and the King and Memoirs of a Geisha and all that sort of thing, but with the like tense political drama of like a Game of Thrones or the Borgias, but it's also about the zombie outbreak in like Middle Ages Korea, and it is phenomenal. It is so good. You guys have to watch it.
Where is it on? Netflix?
Netflix.
Okay.
Kingdom.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Kingdom. Okay.
Have you watched American Gods?
No, but only
because American Gods.
I'm sad to admit I've never actually finished the book.
Really?
It's phenomenal. And if you want to see big titty naked ladies, this is the show to watch. I said it. If you're offended by it, fuck you.
Well, also
No,
too,
it's a fantastic film. It's a neat look at the story that Gaiman wrote. I mean, come on, Neil Gaiman is one of the best authors of our time. I mean,
he's
just phenomenal.
Yeah, he's one of the best. He's inspired me a lot.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Let me ask you, man. Like, it's Gaiman, right? Not Gaiman.
No, it's Gaiman.
That's what I thought, man.
It's Gaiman.
Some people say Gaiman. I'm like, what the? Who the fuck is that? You know? Because they say like Neil Gaiman. Yeah. I'm like, what? No, it's Gaiman. And I'm like, wait a second, maybe
I have been reading his work. I've been reading his work since Sandman #1, and I have just loved everything he's done. He's just, my God, he can just really pull you in right away. He's a good writer.
Yeah, no, Sandman is one of my favorite series of all time. It's in my top 3. And one of the coolest.
He reminds me of Clive Barker. He reminds me of Clive Barker.
I can see that.
That whole British horror kind of really interesting take on. He's got an interesting look at things that I like.
One of my he's actually done my favorite version of most of the Marvel characters when he wrote 1602.
Yeah,
to me
unfortunately, I didn't read that, and I could kick myself for not reading it.
I have all the singles, man, and it's
me too. How I am about stuff. I love alternate universe stuff. I mean, that's alternate universe stuff is my bag, and of course, if you've read my books, you know that. But
I've read the first one. But unlike the other way around, I finished your entire first one.
Yeah, but you didn't have a fucking broken hip in between.
We'll just say that it was acquired by someone. It was stolen rather than I
really feel honestly, I feel horrible, Johnny. I feel horrible about it because I love the book.
Don't. I'm just giving you a hard time.
No, seriously. Hear me out. I love the book. And when I went under, and they started putting me on all these drugs, which, by the way, I didn't mind. When I came out of it, the first thing I wanted to do was read that book. And that was when I told you that I can't find the book. And then I had Kelly look for it at the house and look for it in the truck, and we couldn't find it anywhere. And then when they couldn't find it in the hospital, and I was mad.
Well, okay. So
when I see you at All-Star this year, I'll give you another copy. I don't care.
Well, okay,
thank you.
So
I do special attention.
I do. I'm not trying to veer us away from anything. Like, I just want to get your opinions on this. They're saying that Robert Pattinson may be the new Bruce Wayne / Batman for the Batman.
No.
I don't know, man.
No.
I think, like, on the one hand, I really boo-hooed Heath Ledger being the Joker until I saw it.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, due to Heath Ledger, I really tried to give Jared Leto the benefit of the doubt on being the Joker, and that did not go well.
I will say this, man. Okay, Jared Leto's Joker, like there's a bunch of fucking hell no. I loved it, man.
Oh God.
It's like there's a whole bunch of fucking scenes that were cut out, man, of that movie. There's like scenes. I mean, Jared Leto has even gone on record, man, saying that there's like 45-minute like takes where like that's been cut out and stuff that you haven't even seen, sets and shit.
I love the Suicide Squad. I love the Suicide Squad. I thought it was a fun movie. I don't know what people's fucking complaints were about it.
Yeah, I thought it was fun.
Yeah,
but speaking about actors we don't expect to do well in a role, you've got to remember, I was in line to see Michael Keaton as Batman when it came out in '89.
You ain't the only one. And my mom's took me and my brother Carl to fucking see that.
I remember me and your mom went.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So you were my stepdad. Oh shit, man. Yeah. I didn't move the fucking.
That shadowy figure that used to come to your room at night. That was. But I remember complaining.
Oh, so you were the big hand that touched a little. Oh, okay, yeah. I never,
I remember complaining vehemently when they announced Michael Keaton as Batman, because he's always been kind of a comedy actor and he didn't do much. But then I saw Pacific Heights, which blew me away, which I believe came out before Batman. And then I saw him in a Batman role, and it totally changed my mind. So now let's keep in mind, though, that Ben Affleck is not officially dead.
What's the one where he was an alcoholic? Michael Keaton.
Clean and Sober.
Yeah. When I saw that fucking movie, man, when I saw that one, that's how you knew, because he was in fucking Gung Ho, Mr. Mom. What was it?
Yeah, he was in all kinds of comedies.
He was a bosom buddy. I mean, or was that Tom Hanks? I can never remember.
Beetlejuice. He was not in bosom buddies. That was
I mean, but you know who they had originally for Batman '89, right? Huh?
What?
Okay, sorry. Bill Murray. They wanted Bill Murray for the. Okay, sorry. All right, I'll shut up. Sorry.
It's too late. It's gone. It's
go. I'm curious to hear what you said, man. I'm sorry.
I forgot where I was going with the whole train of thought, but that's fine. Oh, you've got to remember though that Ben Affleck, his brother Ben Affleck, has not officially said that he's not Batman. And he said, "I am not Batman." Now he posted a tweet congratulating this one dude playing Batman in a movie a year from now, which is the young Batman. But he did not say that I am done playing Batman. And that has never been stated by the studio. That is all rumor that has been ginned up by the media.
Well, that's okay. So because he still has one more movie on his contract. Now, this Matt Reeves contract. That's what I'm saying. This Matt Reeves Batman may be like how they're doing the new Joker movie, right? You know, it's like an Elseworlds. You know what I'm saying? Okay. I mean, as far as I fucking know, I mean, the Batman that we're going to get is not. I mean, they haven't actually said Bruce Wayne Batman. They just said fucking Batman about Robert Pattinson. So he may be fucking Nightwing, get Dick Grayson become fucking Batman.
Robert Pattinson, I could see him playing Dick Grayson. I could see that.
Him playing Jason Todd. Because he's a
Jason Todd,
whiny little shit.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a bitch, isn't he?
Well, dude, there's a couple of movies. Like, have you seen The Rover with Guy Pearce and him? It's really fucking good, man. I have it on DVD, man. Or
You're all about Guy Pearce, aren't you?
Yeah, Guy Pearce is the shit, bro. I mean, he could have been fucking Batman back in the day. I mean, he was in Memento. He was L.A. Confidential with Russell.
Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah, Count of Monte Cristo. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Guy Pearce. My only problem with Guy Pearce, I don't understand why he always sounds like he just got back from the dentist.
Oh, yeah.
Like Will Ferrell in the campaign. It's for the poops.
But I like Guy Pearce. I think Guy Pearce is great. I would cast Guy Pearce as somebody in a Batman movie, but I don't know who he would be best at.
Well, they were talking about him being the Riddler at one point in the Christopher Nolan ones.
I could see him. I remember one of my favorite rumors was, you know how Anthony Michael Hall was the reporter in Dark Knight? He was like the Larry King type of guy who had the TV show. Mm-hmm. For a while, right when Dark Knight came out, since he was the one who was always asking questions and the Joker kind of made him a little crazy by kidnapping him and stuff. For a while, I remember there was a rumor that in the third Nolan Bat film, he was going to be the Riddler because he was a journalist, so he was used to asking questions. And so he was going to end up just going nuts after his experience with the Joker, and he was going to end up doing that.
Really?
I'd have been all right with that.
Yeah.
You know?
I love the Nolan trilogy. The only issue I had with it was, and it's a very small issue, it was Bale's Batman voice, which kind of got grating. I would love for them to have done the Batfleck thing with the augmented voice from the the voice synthesizer. Mm-hmm. That was a fantastic way to take care of that issue. I hear a lot of people bitching about it now, but I think it's awesome. I mean, why would he not have that to disguise his voice?
Well, my only problem with the Nolan Batman is that it wasn't like the fighting style, man. If you want to say that, okay, Batman fucked up his knee and just gone silent for like 8 years, I'm like, okay, great, cool. But for me, it's just his fighting style was just he never did any kicks, and it was just and if he did a kick, I never fucking saw it. But it was more like a boxer stance.
Yeah.
Especially the fight against Bane, where Bane just fucked him up, man. I love that they did the broken back shit.
That was a thing. I think that's like my complaint. I think it's a very small, minor complaint because the movies were so entertaining, and Bane, oh my god, Batman was amazing.
Yeah, I love Tom Hardy, man. Tom Hardy's the shit.
Oh, I love Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy could read the fucking phone book for me, and I'd watch him do it.
Dude, I loved him in Mad Max Fury Road, man. I love that he was fucking Mad Max, dude.
I love that Mad Max movie, and I'm a huge Mad Max fan. Having watched the original on HBO back in the day when I was a little kid, and seeing Road Warriors in the drive-in and Beyond Thunderdome, which was sorely disappointing to all Mad Max fans, but mainly because it had a pop singer doing.
Dude, she was hot as fuck. Tina Turner was hot, bro. She was like in her 40s. Dude, I would impregnate Tina Turner back in the day. Jesus God. My love child.
But the movie itself was disappointing to fans.
Or not.
The movie itself was disappointing to fans because fans wanted to see a post-apocalyptic world, and part of that post-apocalyptic world didn't need to be an accompanying video on MTV with her saying, we don't need another hero. So it was kind of disappointing in that aspect. But say what you want about Mel Gibson. He's got some fucking personal issues. But as an actor, he is one of the best actors to have lived in our time.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen his Hamlet, I highly suggest you see his Hamlet.
Hamlet, and he also directed that too, man, which was like, Hamlet,
he was amazing.
Yeah, he was, man. Glenn Close too, man.
The guy's got issues, but what artist doesn't?
Yeah,
that's a pretty big issue to have.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't care as long as he entertains me on the screen. I don't care what he does in his personal life. Right, if he's not out there killing puppies and kids, I'm good with it.
Well, no, but being a Holocaust denier is a pretty big turn.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to have like
never officially said that he's a Holocaust denier. He has said that his father was.
Yeah, and he agrees with his father's teachings, and so that's that means that he is a Holocaust denier.
I don't get more movies. Shut your fucking mouth and make me more movies. That's all I want to say.
Well, that's the problem. That's the problem with Mel Gibson, is that no one's giving him any opportunity. Okay, you do realize that Mel Gibson had the opportunity to be the director of Suicide Squad 2 because he gave Suicide Squad 1 so much shit. So DC Warner Brothers went to him and said, "Hey, put your fucking money where your mouth is, there, Mel, and fucking do it then." And the dude backed the fuck out of it
for fucking money. It's not like he's fucking destitute.
But
he's
when he got his toes put to the fire, when he got his toes put to the fucking 1 yard line, he fucking blinked.
Look, I don't care what you say.
And then that's why we have fucking James Gunn, man.
The Patriot was an awesome movie. I don't care what you say.
No, man, The Patriot was a great movie. I'm not saying that he's not a good actor, man. Or like, I love Lethal Weapon, man. He is always gonna be fucking Martin Riggs to me. Look, not that other asshole that was with
now is that if someone doesn't agree with what you agree with, we destroy their lives.
Well,
I don't care what he thinks. He's not out there hurting anybody or destroying someone's life. He's hurting himself is what he's doing. Let him hurt himself.
I don't know, man. I think it depends. I think that like it's not like he eats steak and I'm a vegetarian. Like, oh well.
Yeah, there's a whole fucking spectrum with Mel Gibson, man.
Them steaks, man. That's no good. I mean, for him to get arrested and to be thrown around like rabid anti-Semitism and to say that the Holocaust never happened and shit, like that's I
agree, and I don't think that his that the way he acts in his personal life is proper. However, I am able to separate a person's personal life from what they throw on the screen, and he's an amazing actor.
And that's it. And that's a really interesting topic, because I think that everyone in the country has people who they can do that for and people who they can't do that for.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's the kind of thing that you get with like Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
Is Bill Cosby's comedy still funny?
That's different.
Bill Cosby's
different.
No, it's not.
That's different. Yeah, it is. Bill Cosby raped people.
Right.
Mel Gibson said some things. Bill Cosby actively raped women. There's a huge difference.
So
there's a huge difference between your freedom of speech
still, being a racist
and
prejudiced person. I mean,
right, but it's not like Mel Gibson said like Pepsi's better than Coke.
Yeah, I mean, like,
you know what I did? You know what? You know what he did say that I did like when he called that girl sugar tits. I mean, that's awesome.
I loved it when Ricky Gervais.
I'm joking. I don't need hate mail.
I loved it when Ricky Gervais introduced him at the awards show, and he goes, "Now, ladies and gentlemen, I love a drink as much as the next man, unless the next man's Mel Gibson." Everybody.
Yeah, I remember that shit. That was funny,
that comment.
I think you're misunderstanding me. I despise how he thinks. You know, I'm a big World War II buff. I'm a huge patriot. And I do realize that the Holocaust happened. I mean, there's no denying it. But
you're Mel Gibson.
I am able to separate who he is as an idiot that says dumb shit to an incredible actor, which he is. He's an amazing actor. You can't take that away from him. He's not the person in the movies. He's playing a different person than he is in real life. Don't we all do that in movies?
Well, yeah, but it's the thing about it is that unless I understand why
until I see him raising a Nazi salute.
Well,
and carrying around a fucking Confederate Nazi flag, I got no problem with the guy.
I mean, I understand
people shit when he was drunk.
I understand people's issues with, and that's where it's like, hey man, I've been drunk and I've said some crazy fucking shit too. You know, I probably said, you know, elephants flying out of my ass when I was drunk. And I don't believe in the whole thing of like, oh, the truth comes out when you're inebriated. It's like, motherfucker, if the truth came out, I mean, it's like it doesn't, because number one, if you're a sound mind and body, motherfucker, when you're fucking fucked up and drunk and inebriated, you'd be driving like fucking like down the fucking highway, like it ain't like you're in like Flint. Yeah, it's
I had
like,
to help with a racer.
No, you're totally good, man. But yeah, it's just one of those things where, and that's why, I mean, people now, yeah, because it's like what Benjamin Franklin said, you know, liquor lowers your inhibitions, you know, I mean, and you're not of sound mind and body when you're inebriated. That's why it's called fucking inebriation. It's like right. Yeah, I've blacked out drunk in the military plenty of fucking times. You probably have too, Chris. So it's like, and there's like spots, man. Like I remember certain things, but I couldn't fucking tell you. And I'm not going to take anybody's word on it. You know?
Me and my buddies went to Carmel Beach when Clint Eastwood was the mayor of Carmel. And we're sitting out on the beach and we're drinking bottled fucking Night Train and fucking Long Island iced teas and shit. I don't remember how we got back to the barracks, but I remember waking up the next day and my entire fucking room was covered in sand. So,
yeah. I mean,
so, you know, you have blackout moments where you do dumb shit. And I probably fucked a goat. I'm sure that happened on the way back.
But I mean, it's like, yeah, with Mel Gibson, man, it's just one of those things where I will say, man, like he is like Braveheart. He did a phenomenal performance. Martin Riggs, Tequila Sunrise, man, he was fucking great in that. Mad Max, man, the first one, man, I love that movie. I mean, there are certain things, but it's just for me, it's hard to. I see. I'm not big into Road Warrior.
I love Road Warrior.
I mean, to me, it was okay.
That was
I love
apocalyptic film that made me love post-apocalyptic films.
Yeah, I love Mad Max because it's on the verge. You're on the precipice of that, and you know they are the last standing police force in Australia. You know that last vanguard of that against
powerful film. Wife and kid being killed and him taking revenge on those guys. It was a good movie. But Road Warrior is what turned me on to post-apocalyptic films, which led me to like horrible movies like Waterworld and The Postman, which have been universally panned. But I love those movies. I love them.
I like them too. Amazing.
Waterworld's fun. It's not a great film, but it's fun. I thought about it when I was writing sci-fi books.
Yeah.
And Dennis Hopper.
I have to go pee. Fighting about Mel Gibson.
No. There's no. But again, so I don't get any hate mail. I'm not saying I agree with what he said. I'm just saying I can separate drunk Mel Gibson from his acting. And our problem in this country is that we you know, I know a lot of people who don't like Republicans. I'm an independent. I used to be a Democrat. But I know a lot of people who don't like Republicans that will not watch a Schwarzenegger film or will not watch a Rocky film, or, you know, a Stallone film because they're Republicans. You cannot base what you love in the arts on what people think. If you look at what's his name, the guy who did the fucking Campbell Soup paintings, Warhol, that guy was a complete flake. Out of his fucking mind, but he did some incredible work. So I'm just saying that all artists have their issues, and we need to separate their issues from their art. And that's how I am. And I wish more people were like that.
Yeah,
I think we'd have a lot more country.
No, I think you're right. It's just and what I'm getting at is that. I mean, I believe Mel Gibson has come out and apologized for his actions, and he does realize that, he does need help and he does need counseling and stuff like that. The problem is that for me, it's like, I'm not really, I mean.
Look at that handsome fucker.
I can, who, Johnny?
Yeah, Johnny. Got that beard. I want to just fucking smear some stuff.
Bushy beard, you know. I mean, to me,
I want to mat that thing up.
It's like how much time is a person allowed to be in like Hollywood jail? I guess if we're gonna go off of things, well, because to me,
what kills me about Hollywood is Hollywood is at the point where it's what makes us mad this week.
Yeah,
you know, and that's infuriating. Just be an American. Just stop bitching about every single thing that happens, and make fucking movies and shut the fuck up. All right, because we want to be entertained. I understand that they're Americans and all Americans are allowed to have their voice, but they have a huge platform and it's unfair. You know what I mean? It's just, in my opinion, unfair that they have this giant platform where they can get up there and talk about whatever flavor of the week they want to talk about. And you and I don't have that platform.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
We will. We will one day. Dude,
but I guess my whole point is people need to stop being outraged about shit that happens. Because it happens. You know, people are people. Start learning to forgive and love. And here I go into my whole Christ thing, but start loving people instead of hating people. And we have way too much hate in this world. We would rather go out and take people and group them into these little groups and say, I hate these people, but I like these people. How about loving everybody, no matter what they've done? You know, it's not our job to to condemn people. It's not our job to do that. It's our job to see people who as they are and accept them for what they are. I mean, like I accept you, and you touch me all the time.
Oh, man. I do. It's pretty bad, folks. That's pretty bad.
I love doing like live shows with him at Mountain Empire Comics. Mountain Empire Comics.
Comics. No.
We sit behind this big glass thing, and he's always got his hand on my dick. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was a hand warmer, So.
And on that note.
So, hey, real quick, man. Have you guys seen the new TV spot for Avengers Endgame?
No.
That was at the Super Bowl?
I have not.
I have not.
I think Johnny, since you were talking before about like you're kind of done with the cutesy bootsiness of it. If you watch that TV spot, man, it was a commercial. It was actually before the kickoff, so I guess technically it's not a commercial of the Super Bowl. But I think you'll like it, man, because it has that bleak feel, man. It has like, have you seen The Leftovers?
Oh yeah, it's one of the best shows I've ever seen.
Yeah. It has that feel, man. Because cool. At the beginning, dude, and you see Cap in like what looks to be like a fucking AA meeting, and there's like a picture of like where did they go? Kind of has like that Leftovers like Rapture feel, like what like everybody's kind of. I mean, the world as it is ain't the fucking world that Thanos promised at the end of Infinity War.
Right.
Everybody's still trying to fucking. I don't know how many they don't give a time frame or anything like that. But
do you know why it's not the world that he promised? Because this guy got all the power in the world, and instead of making more food and resources for people, he decides to reduce the population. What kind of thinking is that?
He had the resource stone.
No, I know. It's
how about like instead of snap, half the population goes away? What about like snap, here's double your corn growth?
Yeah, here's your corn, here's your water, here's your forest you need.
Let me ask you guys another question. I know
I did want to bring one thing up when you're done.
Okay, I was going to bring up a Star Wars Episode 9. What are like our predictions? What do we want?
Search for Curly's Gold.
Search for Curly. Yeah, Episode 9. Search for Curly's Gold.
Yeah, Star Wars Episode 9. Search in search of Curly's Gold.
Yeah. See, I totally forgot about that shit. You know what I'm saying? I forgot about that. Yeah, I mean, they announced that. They said they stopped the press. They weren't going to do it at Celebration. They said we had to at least put out the fucking title right now.
I'm telling you. Look. I'm hurting for money right now. My truck's broke down. I'm looking for work because I'm getting better. I'm healing. But I would buy 10 tickets to Star Wars 9, A Search for Curly's Gold. I would do it right now. I would put it on my credit card. If they named it that, I would be so happy. And Johnny and I would go see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's my only concern, and I feel bad because I feel like I'm boo-hooing a lot of stuff tonight. But
no, dude. Hey, man.
No,
thank you for being on.
That's honestly, this show, Johnny, on this show, people are allowed to have opinions.
Yeah.
We don't care what they think.
And if people don't like it,
opinions are opinions.
Fuck them. Man,
I love the Star Wars universe. I love the movies, and I love video games and a bunch of other good stuff. Here's my concern. Whether you loved or hated Force Awakens, whether you loved or hated The Last Jedi, here's what I've noticed about the new Star Wars trilogy. With Force Awakens, J.J. Abrams said, here's what I'm going to do. We're going to set it up in Force Awakens, and we're going to keep it going. And that's the deal. And while they were filming it, everyone said, okay, cool, we'll continue on in that direction. And if you think that's a bad idea, that's cool. But then in Last Jedi, if you notice, they spent a really fair amount of time in that movie undoing everything that happened in Force Awakens. Like, oh, you think Rey's parents are going to be someone?
Agree.
Gotcha. Oh, you think that Rey is just going to hand Luke the lightsaber and it's going to be like super awesome new apprentice of Skywalker? Nope, that's gone too. Oh, and there were just so many things. Oh, you think that X, Y, and Z is going to happen with Kylo? Oh, sorry. Oh, you think that Admiral Snoke or whoever, Supreme Leader Snoke, is going to be a big guy? Nah, fuck them. And they just, every single thing, it was like they took Force Awakens and just said, not doing this, not doing that, not doing this, not doing that, not doing this. And
which is a real shame.
Well,
which is a real shame because J.J. Abrams is amazing.
I think he is too, but like
the work he did on the Star Trek movies was phenomenal. I'm sorry.
Right, but like if Rian Johnson was going to stick with both episodes 8 and 9 and round out the trilogy his way or whatever, I mean, there have been interviews where they've said, yeah, we took a lot of the ideas that J.J. Abrams was going to have for episodes 8 and 9, and we just shredded them, and we went the opposite way. Well, now JJ's coming back for 9, and he has to either go along with whatever Rian Johnson set up and just kind of do Rian Johnson's job for him, or he's got to spend this movie undoing an undoing movie. Where he's go, okay, no, forget about the stuff that happened last Jedi. What we wanted. Forget about the stuff that happened last Jedi. This person was just lying, or whatever. And it's gonna be. I think it's a shame because I think that it's going to be really noticeable that the trilogy went Abrams' direction, Rian Johnson's direction, and now just kidding, we're going back to Abrams' direction. And I think that whichever direction you like, whichever direction you like the most, I think that there's going to be some level of incongruency or a disconnect or a lack of flow between all those. And it's like, did you guys watch Lost?
Yeah. Well, I didn't watch the last, but I know what happens.
The thing with Lost, the big problem with Lost is that, and it's funny, my brother pointed this out to me. The funny thing with Lost is that every once in a while you can tell when they would write themselves into a corner and they'd have no idea what to do next. Because like they'd be doing something for like 7 episodes, and then whatever the name of the guy was who was in the first Saw movie, they'd be like, "Oh well, I thought that X, Y, and Z," and he'd just go, "I was lying," and then they just abandon that entire story and go do something else. And it's like, "Oh, you guys, you just fucked up. You didn't have an answer.
You gotta have Johnny on more.
You thought you'd get there at some point, and you never got there. And now you have to Deus Ex Machina your ass out of the jungle with the smoke monster or whatever your whole deal is.
And the whole dream.
Yeah, and it's noticeable, and it's weak. And I'm afraid that the same thing's going to happen with Star Wars. It's going to be like, oh, well, Kylo Ren told you that your parents weren't important. He was lying. And there's going to be like some JJ's initial big reveal was about race.
Here are my observations. Luke Skywalker's death, I thought, was beautiful.
Yes.
He decided to die on his own terms, which was very Force prophetic. And I think that the idea that Rey doesn't have parents is misconstrued because this is the Skywalker trilogy.
Yes,
it has always been the Skywalker trilogy. So she was obviously related in some way to the Skywalkers.
She was going to be Luke.
Now,
she's got to be Luke's kid.
Yeah, she's got to be. Because if she's not, then the last movie is going to be the worst film ever made.
Yeah, because
to end a series.
If you watch a lot of the times when it's just her alone, they play that Luke Skywalker theme from New Hope when he's looking off and seeing the sons.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
I have been thinking, yes.
frequently in there.
Yeah. So she has got to be, and I've said this from the first film. And what was the? What kind of help me out here?
Force Awakens.
Yeah, Force Awakens. I've said that is Luke's daughter. It's got to be his daughter.
Yep.
It's got to be, because this whole series has been the Skywalker trilogy from beginning to end. And that's what it was always called by Lucas, was the Skywalker trilogy, and the prequels were part of the Skywalker trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
To have the last part not be their life story, and I understand a lot of people are like, well, they can write about anything they want in Star Wars. Well, that's fine. Do another fucking movie for that. Yeah. This is the Skywalker trilogy. You know,
it is, and you can see, if you watch Force Awakens closely enough, you can see where JJ wanted to head with Episode 8, which would be that Luke would say, you know, I'd hope that if I stayed away from the Force and if I'd stayed away from the Jedi and from all this conflict, that you and I wouldn't have the same relationship that I had with my father. But now it's
exactly
as father and daughter need
I wouldn't have pulled you in
and figure out what we're gonna do in order to avoid that same fate. And then Rian Johnson was just kind of like, nope, fuck you. You know, and I think that's...
And Rian Johnson is a horrible director, by the way.
I mean, I really Looper was fucking phenomenal, man. I don't know what you're talking about, dude. I love Looper. Looper's a great fucking movie, man.
I just loved Brick. I thought Brick was fantastic.
Yeah, Brick's pretty good too.
Oh, you can suck my
dick. Looper, man. But no.
But that's my big worry. I don't know.
Looper was horrible.
Maybe I'm just being a pessimist. That's my big concern about. That's my big concern about Episode 9. I want it to be great because I love Star Wars, but I think they're going to have to do some real miracle working and some real gymnastics to kind of untangle the knot that has been tied by the last two movies together.
Let me ask you a question real quick. Why in Force Awakens, if you think that JJ was setting it up to where Rey was Luke's daughter, why do you think that we hear the first words of Obi-Wan, both Alec Guinness, and Ewan McGregor? Because it was kind of like modulated into their both, because saying that these are her first steps. I mean, why don't we hear someone else's, like Luke's? Or
I think for the same reason that I think that Obi-Wan is to Rey as Yoda was to Anakin. The too far removed elder Jedi Master.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they meshed Sir Alec Guinness and Ewan McGregor saying Rey, because like Yoda, they could kind of see a generation down and kind of have that premonition about the next young Skywalker.
Okay.
But I don't know. I mean, now, I could be totally wrong. Like, I would not be surprised if J.J. Abrams saw this and laughed me out of my apartment. But that's just my opinion. I think that's the
now. I know that
direction they were going.
I know that Johnny's not a big fan of The Last Jedi. I had some small issues with it, but I enjoyed the film as a whole.
Yeah.
But I do have to agree with him that it seemed like it was headed in a different direction than the first film. Well, it seemed like they were just trying to do. It seemed like the director was trying to second guess everything.
Yeah.
That Abrams did in the first film.
Yeah.
To me.
Well, see. Oh, okay. Here
I enjoyed the movie. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I was just gonna ask. Here's the question I was gonna ask is, why don't you think that JJ wanted to do all three instead of just because it was supposed to, I know, like, originally it was supposed to be the three. It was supposed to be J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, and Colin Trevorrow. Colin Trevorrow told Mark Hamill and Daisy Ridley his treatment for, and Daisy Ridley actually cried when she found out who she really was or who her parents were and stuff like that. And then Mark Hamill gave, I guess, Colin Trevorrow, approval of telling him, hey, this is how my script would have gone had I directed it and stuff like that. So
I don't know that I was always under the impression that the reason they didn't have JJ come back for episode 8 was because episode 7 got so much flack for just being a copy of New Hope. I thought that they took so much shit for that from critics and from fans that they said, well, let's go with someone else for episode 8. And then they shot themselves in the foot on that because Last Jedi is, as far as I know, definitely the worst received Star Wars since the prequels. And then they realized, oh, wait, we should have just let this guy do them. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's
what bothers me about those complaints is that it needed to harken back to the original film. It needed to have that lived-in look. It needed to have a lot of the same plot elements because we had forgotten what made Star Wars great because the prequels were so horrible.
Yes, they were.
In my opinion, I saw Star Wars when it came out in 1977 at a theater. And I fell in love with that universe. Shut the fuck up, you motherfucker. But I know I'm old, but I saw it when it came out, and I saw the other 3 films. I saw Empire in the theater, and I saw Jedi in the theater. And when the prequels came out, I was like, what in the shit is this? This is some of the worst shit I've ever seen. And it was almost like they had forgotten what Star Wars was about. And I appreciated them building the character of Anakin up, to become Darth Vader, which was great. But it seemed to me like the first film was Luke, George Lucas said, I have an entire first film, but all he had was a little bit of movie and an hour and a half pod race. That's all it seemed to me. It was one of the worst movies I'd ever watched. And I was like, what the hell is going on? So it seemed to me like it's like going to a wine tasting and having that little bit of water so you can get that next little bit of wine so you can clear that palate. The first film in this new trilogy was that water to get you back to zero, so you knew what you were looking at in the Star Wars universe. And
I wasn't bothered by the similarities between Force Awakens and New Hope because, in my mind, the Star Wars universe has always had, and I'm going to go really far off the deep end here. I apologize. The Star Wars universe has always had elements of Buddhism, like reincarnation, in
Agreed.
it. So with Force Awakens, I saw similarities between Force Awakens and New Hope, but they didn't bother me because I was like, right, it's just that repeating Buddhist cycle of trying to escape the whatever world.
Yeah, secular.
Improve and be better. And
I felt that way too.
The caste system. That's
exactly. Thank you. And they, and it was sad to me because in episode 7, the end where Kylo Ren ends up in the last half hour of episode 7, it seems as though they were very definitively sending him along a path of darkness, and they were having him try to be the next Vader, and in his mind, not in our mind, but in his mind, try to be the next Vader.
He wanted to be his grandfather.
Exactly. Thank you. And
he wanted to carry on his legacy.
Right, and they were having Rey set up to be kind of the new Luke Skywalker, which is cool, and I was totally down for that, but I think that they were headed in a really good direction, and then I think that they chose to throw a lot of that away, and that hardly ever comes off well when you do that in a sequel, when you say, hey, this big linchpin thing that we had, we're gonna pick it up and we're gonna chuck it in the garbage. And I don't know, man. I had a lot of issues with. I had a lot of problems with Last Jedi, but I think that mostly the biggest one was that they just seemed to incessantly be. They were just incessantly kind of throwing out whatever they had set up in Force Awakens and kind of just being
And
like, nope, we're not going to do it.
I enjoyed the film, but I don't think that anything they've done cannot be undone by a good script.
Oh yeah, and that's like one of the things. Like I know, like a lot of people, and I just want to touch on this real quick. I know a lot of people talk about because I've seen the original trilogy recently, like the 77, 80, and 83, and the thing is that the I feel like the Force Awakens was like an amalgam of all three of those movies. I mean, we got to find out that Kylo Ren, basically, poor man's Darth Vader, is Ben Solo. So I mean, we found that shit out in Empire, right? Yeah. And then you have Starkiller Base, which is like the fucking and even fucking whatchamacallit says, oh, it's a bigger Death Star, Yeah. I mean, Harrison Ford, Han Solo, he says that shit right at the briefing. It's like, that's fucking.
It was beautifully done. It was great.
I mean, to me, it's like a lot of these things. I mean, you have Jakku, is an analog for Tatooine, and stuff like that. So
they had to do a throwback. They had to do a throwback to the first film.
Yeah, I
had to.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying that, but I'm agreeing with you.
And I'm agreeing with your agreement.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks. Hey, we agree on something. They do, Tish. No,
we agree a lot.
Yeah, we do. But what I'm saying is that I don't like it when people say, "Oh, it's just a rehash." It's like, and also too, okay, the way that it all ties into even like the Phantom Menace. I mean, I've seen that one where, okay, the elder sage Qui-Gon dies in that one. Fucking Obi-Wan dies in fucking the first of the trilogy, and now fucking Harrison Ford dies in this trilogy. I mean, it's a hero's journey, man. It's that Joseph Campbell stuff, and also too, I mean, Lucas took from Flash Gordon, with the serializing stuff. I mean, he took from a lot, like what you were talking about, Buddhism too, and just there's all these things that he was inspired by.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, man.
No, go ahead, man. I was done.
If you ever watched the Kurosawa movie, The Hidden Fortress,
yeah,
Star Wars is basically Hidden Fortress.
It was based on that,
plus the Holy Roman Empire in space.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because in Hidden Fortress, you have a princess who wants to smuggle plans for an enemy base out through the country, and she has two kind of funny, cute, dim-witted sidekicks who are like the droids helping her out. And there's even like a similar trash compactor scene where in Hidden Fortress they put the instructions into like a hollow log, because if they get caught with the instructions at the border of this village, they're going to get executed. So they put it into like a hollow log, and they throw this log on the fire with all these other logs, and they burn it and all that stuff, and they wait till everyone leaves, and they grab it, because the plans were in like a solid gold tube, so the gold tube doesn't melt or doesn't burn on the fire, and they grab it and they keep going. And it's a lot of Star Wars is based on Hidden Fortress. And so, anyway, man, go ahead. I was just interjecting that real fast.
No, I was done. I mean, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, okay. But yes, I mean, Lucas is a big Kurosawa fan, and Clint Eastwood is a big Kurosawa fan, and I love Star Wars, but you definitely see those elements in it. And, as far as I know, most of Japan is Buddhist, right? Unless I'm completely.
Well, there are some Christian.
Right, but it's like 1 or 2%.
A majority of Japan
are Buddhist, yeah.
Right, because I have a friend who went and taught in Japan, and he said that something like 1 to 2% of them are
which is a beautiful religion.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
it's a beautiful. It's all about love and redemption and reincarnation, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, and taking responsibility for your own actions and having consequences and stuff like that.
Yes. I wanted to touch on a couple things before we get off here.
Yeah.
Now that I have you cornered on camera, and you have read my book, Greg, I don't think has.
Well, I've read the first one. I haven't read the second one. But, yeah. I told you.
What do you think, Johnny? I'm just giving you shit, Greg.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. You know what, Chris? I thought that I honestly thought that you're like you were saying with mine, and I'm gonna happily return the compliment. And this is very sincere and very honest. I love the world building that you did. I love how imaginative the entire universe is that you built up for Tripping Over Reality. As I said in my review to you in print, you locked into the Douglas Adams vein of here's a bunch of stuff that's crazy and it's sudden and it's different, but all of it is fun and it's funny and it's engaging and you care about the characters, and that is
wow.
You're along for the ride because you care. And you know, I've said it earlier on tonight's chat that I'm not usually super gung-ho for everything being silly and crazy. And yours is not everything super silly and crazy. But the parts that are, they worked really well for me because they, I don't know, it's hard to describe, but they just, like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle, they just go together and they work.
There's a balance there. There's a balance there between some emotional scenes, especially between Martin and his mother when she was dying,
right?
And a lot of the crazier, you know, alphabetarians and all that wacky shit that I put in there.
Yeah, it's a really good balance between serious and
I
silly,
appreciate that.
And they need each other they balance each other out really well. I don't think I could balance serious and silly as well as you can. It was a breath of fresh air seeing it go together so well.
It's how I see life.
Yeah, no, it's good. And I dug the characters, and I could see where they were coming from, and they made sense. And I want to say that the one and only reason I haven't read your second book yet is because in order, I got your first book, then I got a 13 novel collection of Philip K. Dick, and then I got and then I got our friend Susan Quilty's book, her first book.
Yeah.
And then I got your second book. So even if I don't read all the Philip K. Dick stuff, I got to at least finish the one that I'm in the middle of.
Susan's book, yeah.
Before I can move on to Susan's and then back to your second volume. But that's the only reason. It's just in the interest of fairness, my book.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I think you'll like the second novel. It's more of a traditional superhero novel, but it's about, at its core, it's about the de-evolution of a friendship, and the feelings that two men have for one another, which I think is very deep, and I think that anyone who reads that, whether they be female or male, will understand what it's like to lose a friend over something silly. You know, when you're trying to save a friend from doing something stupid, you know, and it's a powerful story, and it's also my love song to, you know, the Bronze Age dissolving into the 90s big pecs, big fucking guns heroes. So it's that early generation against the Image Comics generation. So it's a nice look at that, and the nice thing about what I enjoy about writing these particular novels is that I've read comics since I was 5, you know, so I've got 45 years of comics behind me, and I've seen all the tropes and all the stuff, and I know what to avoid and what to look for and what to add, and I like taking real life type characters with emotions and feelings and putting him through these ringers that they go through in a superhero world, which is a lot of fun.
Absolutely. One of the things that I like the most about Volume 1 was that you have your main protagonist, Martin Strum, and his dilemma is that he, my interpretation of it, he wakes up kind of in a position. It's almost like it's almost the best case scenario, right? You wake up.
Yes.
You wake up one day, you were a comic book geek, and now instead you're basically a god. And
yes.
And he wakes up in this drastically different scenario, and he wrestles with what's expected of him, and he has this initial shock of how awesome it is to suddenly be able to fly and be really strong, be able to kick the shit out of people and all that sort of thing. But then there's very much a stepping into this new big role that he has. And I really, really liked seeing him shift and change and try to adapt to those roles and to grow throughout the first novel. It kind of reminded me of everyone would be ashamed of me back in college. I can't remember who wrote All the King's Men. But in All the King's Men, the narrator who follows the politician throughout his tenure, he goes through 3 or 4 distinct phases of his personality as he is an assistant to this sort of crazy, corrupt, rednecky politician. And I like that Martin had that regular shift of, whoa, here's this new role that I'm in. Whoa, here's what people want me to be versus what I am. Okay, but now here's what I am, and that's going to overpower what people want of me. And how can I balance the two? And, it was really good seeing his distinct phases of growth.
Yeah, and I thought it was neat, and I don't want to say my own phrases, but I thought it was neat because he realizes that now he's a hero, and it's all neat at first. Wow, I can fly and I'm super powered, nothing can hurt me. But everyone around me is still a person, and I've got to deal with these people. And that continues into the next book where he's like, wow, these are the same types of relationships that I had when I was a regular human being on regular Earth, being a person. Only I have power, so nothing is really different. I just have to be true to who I am, and that's what I love about that character.
I agree. And
everyman.
The part for me writing my new book was the only story I have told from a soldier's perspective. He's a guy who is a coward, and to me, it was like I didn't want to imply that was what I thought of the majority of the military, nor did I want to imply that that's really how it is. But as you said, here's this guy with all of his character flaws suddenly in this new powerful role where he's expected to kind of be Superman. He's kind of expected to always be perfect. And he has to try to reconcile that with, whatever actually is wrong with him. And so, I think that as an author, there's a middle ground between you write what you know, and then you go out on a limb and you just kind of hope for the best, and you hope that they marry each other and go well. So, I'm definitely with you on that, man. Like it's a hard balance to strike.
The second book is the last time you will see Flag in a central role.
Okay.
Because the third, fourth, and fifth books go off the rails. The third book will be Air Assault and Cachet's wedding book.
Okay.
And of course, every time a superhero gets married, something gets fucked up. So that'll be their book. I'll give away a spoiler for you. something happens to Tachyon in this book, in the second book, that pulls him out of the universe that he's in. He will not appear in the third book. The fourth book will be his love story.
Okay.
He's my gay character, and the fourth book will be him going throughout the multiverse trying to get back home, and he finds someone on Bendu that he loves. So it'll be kind of a love story set during a civil war, which I think will be amazing.
Yeah.
And the fifth book is Primordial's story.
Yeah.
That'll be from beginning to end, from when he first is a young man in ancient Babylon to what happens to him now at the end of the universe. So it'll be really cool. So I've got all the plot points written out, but I've got to get this horror novel out. I've got to write this. I've got to. It's fucking killing me.
I didn't know. I have one in the pipeline too. I came up with an idea a couple of years ago. What if I took the first half of the original Night of the Living Dead, where there's just poof, suddenly zombies, and people kind of strangers congregate in a house and board it up?
Mm-hmm.
And what if I married that to the second half of The Great Escape, where they just have to kind of dig tunnels to try to get out? And I wrote the first chapter of it, and it's set in Japan. And later this month, I'm actually going to be running a poll on my company's Facebook page where I ask, like, what should I do next? Should I do a third Fog World book, or should I
tag me on that
and do this Japanese zombie tunnel book?
Tag me on it.
Yeah,
you got to do what eats at you, man. You got to do what eats at you. You got to do it.
Yeah, I got to,
because it'll be awesome.
I'm excited for both. I could go either way. I mean, I'm split.
I could too. Like I've been writing, you know, you hem and haw some days when you're writing and you're like, you know, it's hard to get at it. And Kelly asked me what was wrong one day, and I'm like, I really want to write the third Tripping book. It's there. All the parts are there. All the moving parts in that story are there. It'll be easy to write. But I've got to write this horror novel because it's a challenge. You know, instead of writing instead of going the easy route, I'm going up the mountain.
Exactly.
and writing the hard story, because once that's done, which will probably take me 2 years, once that's done, it'll take me a year to write that next Tripping story, because I have all the parts in place. You know, so I'm like, I've got it. And this one, I'm shopping. I'm not self-publishing this next book. I'm shopping at the publishers.
It's cool.
And that's all I'm doing. That's where no one will see it until a publisher publishes it. It'll go out there and it'll start writing the next Tripping book. But that's what I'm doing. Because I don't care. I mean, I love my self-published books. I love what I've done. I'm really proud of them. But I want some publishing company to pick up a book that I wrote and put it out there to the masses. Because I'm tired of going from fucking con to con, going, please buy my book. I'm a poor fucker. Please buy my book. I suck.
It never gets more fun. I've been at it 7 years. It never gets more fun.
Well, I mean, like hearing you talk about just now, Chris, like I'm thinking to myself, like, man, this must how George R.R. Martin must feel, man, about like fucking like, this like Game of Thrones shit. This is easy, man. But I'm gonna do the side shit, you know.
Yeah.
It's like this other shit about Westeros, and everybody's like, "What the fuck? Why won't you just have a campaign for this man so he won't die?"
Now, George R.R. Martin edited a series of books and wrote a series of books years ago called Wild Cards. I don't know if you're familiar with it, Greg, but I don't know if you're familiar with it. It is a series of superhero stories that he based on a Champions game that he and friends of him were playing. And there's a comic series out of it as well. But it is probably one of the best superhero stories that I'd read in prose in years, and what inspired me to write my books.
Cool.
And it takes and it goes from the World War II heroes to today. And it's really cool. It's really well done. And, you know, the World War II superheroes didn't have powers. They were just dudes that were real brave. And, you know, much like a lot of the DC superheroes, you know, other than like Superman, of course. But, you know, you had Dr. Midnight and the Atom, and who just could fight, and Wildcat, and just a bunch of brawlers, as opposed to the heroes that came out later. And what had happened was a guy named Dr. Tachyon had come to Earth, and I can't remember exactly what happened, but he was trying to prevent the release of this wild card virus. And when the wild card virus was eventually released, some people pulled aces and they became big superheroes, was like Superman, like Golden Boy. There was a guy named Golden Boy who was like Superman. And other guys pulled jokers. So they were real mutated, but they had powers based on their mutations. And it was an incredibly well-written series of books. And they did a Wild Card Series 1, which was 6 novels. And they did a second one, which was 6 novels. And it was really incredibly well done. And all anyone knows him for is Game of fucking Thrones.
Dude, he wrote for...
Which is amazing, by the way.
Oh, back in the 90s?
What's that?
I said he wrote for Twilight Zone back in the 90s. Like when they...
did he?
Yeah. He's...
when they did the Twilight Zone, yeah.
Yeah, and now Jordan Peele is doing it again.
Right.
And I'm looking forward to that, man.
Yeah,
I am too, but
I got a Blu-ray box set of the original Rod Sterling run, all 5 seasons of that. What did I say?
Sterling,
Sterling.
It's
Everyone
Sterling.
says that.
I was thinking Roger Sterling from Mad Men.
Yeah, I get it.
Give me a break. I've been drinking.
He's amazing.
The old Rod Sterling episodes. I got a Blu-ray collection of that. It's something ridiculous, like 24 Blu-rays of all 5 seasons.
That's beautiful.
Really?
It's a phenomenal run. One of my very, very favorite ideas ever is there was this old Twilight Zone called The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street.
One of my favorite stories.
The best. Greg, are you familiar with
it? It's one of my favorite stories. That plays on the human condition more than any other Twilight Zone episode.
I think I am, but if you want to refresh my mind.
Sure.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
The premise of Monsters Due on Maple Street is that regular suburban cul-de-sac in the late 50s, early 60s, and all of a sudden the power goes out and the phone lines go out, and I want to say the water goes out too, but I don't remember. But so one guy says, people are kind of congregating in the cul-de-sac because some people are waxing their cars, some people are mowing the lawn, some kids are out playing, women are planting their petunias, whatever. And one guy says, hey, I'm going to go a few blocks over and see if I can figure out what's going on. And little by little, in this one cul-de-sac, paranoia and distrust overtakes every house on the block. There's a kid who has comic books about aliens coming down from outer space, and he's like, gee golly, this must be what's going on. And all the adults are like, man, goddamn children, what do they know? Just give them some more rum. And yet,
and Sheriff Lobo's in that. Sheriff Lobo's one of the main characters.
Yeah, as it goes on, eventually they're like, maybe the kid's right. Maybe one of us is, not what he seems. And they all start pointing fingers like, oh, well, I haven't seen this guy in church lately. And, oh, well, these people have their basement light going at all hours of the night. It's creepy. It's unnatural.
This guy operates a ham radio.
Yeah, exactly. And it gets worse and worse and worse to the point that the street basically tears itself apart. People just go nuts, and they're throwing bricks through windows, and they're beating the shit out of each other. And in the end of the episode, and I don't feel bad spoiling this because this is 60 years ago, pans out as all these people are going crazy, and it fades to another pan out, and it fades to another pan out. And eventually you have this UFO up on a hilltop or up on a ridge somewhere, and there's 2 Martians who are, of course, regular humans dressed in silver V-suits, and one of them says, see, we don't need to bomb them. We don't need to use our weapons on them. We don't need to infect them with incurable diseases. You just take away a few creature comforts, and these humans will tear themselves apart. And the guy says, "They want to close it like this everywhere." And the first one says, "Oh yeah, they don't trust each other. They will just start pointing fingers and forming groups and drawing lines in the sand, and they will take themselves out, and we can have the planet when they're done. We don't need to lift a finger." And one of my favorite themes in writing, whether it's in that or Lord of the Flies or The Mist or Battle Royale or Hunger Games or whatever, is that you put people in an isolated area and you take away the rules, and the worst comes out in us. And I've incorporated that a little bit into Fog World so far, but when I do book 3, I've mentioned in my first 2 books that out of the 13 colossi that came up, one is dead and another one's missing. And I really want the 3rd book to be a story about one or both of those 2 colossi and touch on those themes of, if you put 3 people together, 2 of them will try to make, they'll try to draw a line and have the 3rd person join their side, because that's just how we roll. So that's one of my favorite things ever. And I'm realizing now that I'm 5 minutes into this that I completely forgot where I was going.
No, you're good.
Well,
no. Actually, what's the episode called again? The monsters.
It's Monsters Are Loose on Maple Street.
Monsters are loose.
Well, monsters are due on Maple Street.
Monsters are due.
Isn't it loose? It's due?
Due.
Okay.
Monsters are due on Maple.
Okay. Well, the most incredible thing about the Twilight Zone and Star Trek back in that time, where they had some of the best sci-fi writers write their storylines. You had Richard Matheson. You had D.C. Fontaine. You had who was it that wrote the time episode on Amok Time? I can't remember. What was that?
You mean the episode All the Time in the World?
No, the Amok Time episode on Star Trek.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, shit. Anyway, I mean, they had some of the best writers in sci-fi that wrote those Twilight Zone episodes and wrote Star Trek, which is why those
I think you're breaking up a little, Schwartz. I'm having trouble hearing you. Can you hear him?
I cannot.
Uh-oh. We might have lost
him. Yeah, he's stuck.
Technical difficulties.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just looking up the monsters on Maple Street. Yeah, it looks. It was the 22nd episode on the first season.
It's phenomenal. It's one of the best they ever did. And I'm a huge Twilight Zone fan, and that's probably my favorite episode ever.
Yeah, apparently when they did the remake or the relaunch of this series, yeah, Forrest Whitaker was the person,
right?
The Rod Serling. Yeah, they actually, I guess they remade it, directed by Debbie Allen, written by Rod Serling. Originally aired 2000. Yeah, February 19, 2003 was the remake, but it originally aired March 4th, 1960, the one that we're talking about. So
it was really good. And it's funny, little silly, stupid piece of music trivia. I don't know. Do you listen to any industrial music?
Yeah.
Do you listen to Skinny Puppy?
I have heard of them. I'm blanking on some of their music.
They put out an album in the early 90s, and they have a song on it called My Voice Sounds Like Shit. And if you listen to the beginning of My Voice Sounds Like Shit, there's an audio sample from The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street in the beginning of the song.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's pretty
Classic.
cool.
Just good old music trivia.
Sweet, man. Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna see. I am contacting him on this Facebook to see if he's coming back. So
yeah, we'll have to see. You should really give him a hard time about it.
I know, it's like, damn you and your stupid internet or lack thereof, and like the mountains and stuff. I mean, I know we've been going on, man. It's going on almost like 3.5 hours, man.
Oh yeah. We should.
I don't know if you want to start winding it down. I mean, I'm good, but I mean, if you got to go, man.
I kind of do, even though I'd love to stay and chat for like another 2 or 3 hours.
No, you're good, man. Sorry, dude. I mean, I didn't realize we were going to go like so long. I mean, we usually tend to go like an hour and a half too. I mean, there was like one where we went 3, and if we do like the live streaming, usually go like 5, but that's like at like Mountain Empire Comics, because we make that like an event,
right
thing. So, but yeah, man. But yeah, if you have to go, man, yeah, no worries, dude. Yeah, because he hasn't said anything yet. But yeah, man. Hey, man. Thank you. But just to get everything out of the way, if he doesn't come back, man, thank you so much, man, for coming on. And we would love to have you as like a guest again, man. If you would like to stop by and, you know.
Yeah, man. This has been a lot of fun. This has been a blast, and it's been an honor. Thank you for having me and letting me, bullshit with you guys for so long. I appreciate you giving me a platform. This is fun.
Hell yeah, man. No, dude, you're more than welcome anytime, man. Thank you, man. I mean, we're honored to have you on, man. And thank you so much. And yeah, dude, like, I'm totally looking forward, just from like what you're talking about, like with the Wandering City Blues and City Limits, and the Fog World, just like your the exposition that you gave about them. Yeah, like I'm totally looking forward to it, and yeah, dude, I'm totally gonna have to go on because you said they're available on Amazon, right?
Yeah, paperback and digital. The second one isn't out yet. It should be out in about another 6 or 7 weeks.
Okay.
But then, do you read any books digitally, or do you just do paperbacks?
I do paperback, man. Honestly,
I do too.
Because I have like a whole bookshelf, man, right behind me, and then I have like 3 other ones like off to the side over here. So
I tend to do paperbacks too, but since a lot of people do Kindle or digital or whatever, I have both of them on digital. So I was gonna say I can just email them to you, but
cool, man. Yeah, man. I mean, it's up to you, brother. I mean,
Yeah, well, I mean, I can give you the digital ones for free. The physical ones I got to get printed and I got to get shipped, so those cost more money.
Yeah. I just don't want to take away from your funds, man, because you have a family to feed, man. So it's
sure.
I'm paying for it, man. But
okay, cool. But yeah, if you want to, you can IM me your email address, and I'll shoot a couple Kindles right over to you, today or tomorrow, and then you're more than welcome to get the paperbacks as well if you're interested, but no pressure. No, most definitely, man. Like no, man, it's like I love having like paperbacks and stuff like it, because I love I'm really big into like Edgar Allan Poe, H.P. Lovecraft, Stephen King, and like what we were talking about before, man. I'm big into like William Gibson, the Sprawl trilogy, cyberpunk stuff like that. Cool.
And I really like and kaiju as well, man. Like Pacific Rim and oh God, I'm blanking on Godzilla. I was
Godzilla, yeah. No, I love it. And like Cloverfield, I thought was great.
Yeah. I actually like Cloverfield Paradox, man. I know a lot of people didn't, but and I liked 10 Cloverfield Lane. But yeah, I see. My only problem with Cloverfield is that it was found footage, man. But minus that, like I did like seeing the monster and stuff, and I thought it was pretty cool, man. I mean, it's real. I'm not big into the whole like shaky cam, found footage stuff. The only one I do have an exception for is Chronicle, because I really like that movie.
I love Chronicle.
Yeah, it's so good, man. It's so good. But yeah, brother, but hey, man, thank you once again, man. And yeah, I'll shoot you an email, man, after this. And yeah, man, thank you once again. And you're always welcome, man, to be a guest on again, man, when you have time, brother.
Yeah, man, and thank you guys again for having me. I appreciate it. And you know, when you get a hold of Schwartz, tell him that I was unbearable to talk to alone, and that it was just dead silence.
Yeah, I know. There was like dead silence, you know, for like at least 2 minutes, and
yeah, we just dead air. We just staring at our cameras.
You know, I have family stuff to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, have a good one. Thanks again.
All right, brother. You too, man. Thanks.
Bye now.
All right, bye. All right, everyone. We are. Well, I guess Chris isn't back yet. So, but yeah, I just want to say thank you so much, the people who are watching right now, and everybody that was watching and will future watch this in the future. And if you kind of are in the future and you come back to the past, then that's basically Back to the Future, I think. Yeah, if my brain isn't too confused. I get confused pretty easy. But yeah, but hey, I wanted to say thank you so much to everyone. Please like the video. I want to say once again, thank you to Jonny Lupsha for being our guest and just, you know, shooting the shit with us. I mean, it's really great. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty nervous in the beginning because, you know, he's our first guest and stuff like that. And I don't know, all this stuff was just kind of like, you know, I was just like, but no, it was totally cool. And like I said, I just want to thank Jonny once again for hanging with us as long as he did. And also to you, everyone in the chat and who are the spectators. And yeah, but yeah, once again, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. We really do appreciate that. And I don't think there's anything more to say other than love to all, God bless, and aloha.